Hey everyone, welcome back to Ben 10 What If. Today we're diving into an amazing story called What If Ben 10 Was an Attack on Titan Universe. If you love these stories, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps us bring more content to you. Without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 1, Worlds Collide. 1 second Ben Tennyson was in Bellwood, fighting the dimension-hopping creep Commander Vex, and the next he was falling through the sky toward a medieval-looking town surrounded by a massive stone wall. Not again. Ben yelled, the wind whipping his brown hair as he plummeted. He twisted his body mid-air, slapping the Omnitrix on his wrist. Green light flashed. Big Chill. His body transformed instantly into the blue, moth-like alien with ghostly wings. Big Chill swooped down, stopping his fall, then hovered to take in his surroundings. Okay, where am I now? He muttered in Big Chill's raspy voice. The countryside below looked like something out of a history book, stone buildings with wooden roofs, no electricity in sight. The massive wall circling the settlement was at least 50 meters high. But what caught Big Chill's attention were the massive humanoid creatures lumbering toward the wall. They walked with awkward, unsettling gaits, their naked bodies disproportionate, faces frozen in disturbing grins. What the heck are those things? Big Chill whispered. Below, people screamed. Soldiers in brown jackets used strange grappling hook devices to swing between buildings with incredible agility. They were attacking the giant creatures with dual blades, but most attempts ended with soldiers being grabbed and Big Chill looked away as one soldier was bitten in half. Guess I know who the bad guys are. He swooped down toward the nearest creature, a 15-meter-tall humanoid with a grotesque face. As it reached for another fleeing civilian, Big Chill turned intangible and flew straight through its chest, freezing it solid from the inside out. The giant creature stopped moving, encased in ice. The soldiers stared in shock. You're welcome, Big Chill called, before flying toward another monster. He spotted a group of civilians cornered by two of the giants. Diving down, he breathed his freezing breath at the creature's legs, immobilizing them. Run, he shouted to the people below. A short soldier with black hair landed on a rooftop nearby, dual blades drawn, staring at him with suspicious gray eyes. What are you? She demanded. Before Big Chill could answer, the Omnitrix symbol on his chest started blinking red. Oh come on, not now. Green light flashed, and Ben dropped the final few feet to the ground, landing with a grunt. The girl's eyes widened. Hi, Ben said, standing up and dusting himself off. I'm Ben. And you are? The soldier pointed her blade at him. What are you? How did you just change form? Long story, Ben said, eyeing the blade. But I'm one of the good guys, promise. A crash behind them made them both turn. One of the ice-covered giants had broken free and was moving again. Those things are tough, Ben muttered. Titans, the girl corrected. And they don't stay down unless you cut out the nape of their neck. Good to know. Ben tapped the Omnitrix again, cycling through his available aliens. I just need this to recharge and a massive boom interrupted him. Looking up, Ben saw green lightning strike somewhere in the town, followed by a roar that shook the buildings around them. Aaron, the girl whispered, then fixed her intense gaze on Ben. Stay here if you want to live. She fired her grappling hooks and swung away with impressive speed. Yeah, that's not happening, Ben said as the Omnitrix finally lit up green. Humongosaur. The transformation washed over him, replacing his human form with a 12-foot-tall dinosaur-like alien. He charged toward the source of the roar, smashing through a titan that got in his way. When Humongosaur reached a town square, he stopped short. A 15-meter titan with a muscular build was fighting other titans, tearing them apart with savage efficiency. Unlike the others, this one seemed to have a purpose, targeting only other titans. What the heck? Humongosaur muttered. 3 soldiers landed nearby, the black-haired girl from before, a blonde boy with wide blue eyes, and an older man with blonde hair. Another one, the man said, raising his blades. Wait, Captain Irwin, the blonde boy shouted. This one's different too. I saw it change from a human. Humungosaur raised his hands. I'm not one of those Titan things. I'm on your side. The fighting Titan roared again, grabbing another Titan and slamming it into a building. Is that one on your side too? Humungosaur asked. It's complicated, the blonde boy answered. More Titans approached from all sides. The black-haired girl glanced between Humungosaur and the fighting Titan, clearly torn. Look, Humungosaur said, I don't know what's going on, but those things are attacking people, and I'm not going to stand by and watch. So either fight me or let me help. Captain Irwin narrowed his eyes. Mikasa, Armin, focus on protecting Eren. I'll keep an eye on this one. Humungosaur nodded. Good choice. He charged forward, growing to his full 20 feet as he tackled a Titan to the ground. Remembering what the girl, Mikasa, had said, he slammed his fist into the nape of the Titan's neck, pulverizing it. The creature went limp. One down, Humungosaur grunted, turning to face more Titans. For the next 20 minutes, Humungosaur fought alongside the soldiers and the rogue Titan they called Eren. The coordinated attacks of the soldiers impressed him. They moved with practiced precision, using their grappling gear to swing around the Titans and strike their weak points. When the last Titan fell, Humungosaur stood breathing heavily amid the steaming corpses. The fighting Titan, Eren, collapsed to its knees, then began to disintegrate. To Ben's surprise, a human teenager emerged from the nape, unconscious and steaming. Mikasa immediately swooped in to retrieve the boy, cradling him protectively. The Omnitrix began beeping again, and Humungosaur reverted to Ben in a flash of green light. Captain Irwin and several other soldiers immediately surrounded him, blades drawn. Okay, Ben sighed, I'm guessing you guys have questions. 2 hours later, Ben sat in a stone cell beneath some kind of military headquarters. They'd taken the Omnitrix, or tried to. No one could remove it from his wrist, which had led to even more suspicion. The door opened, and several people entered, Captain Irwin, a short man with cold eyes who they called Captain Levi, Mikasa, Armin, and a woman with glasses who looked at Ben like he was the most fascinating thing she'd ever seen. I'm Section Commander Hang Zoe, the woman with glasses announced, leaning in uncomfortably close to Ben. And you, my friend, are absolutely fascinating. What are you? How do you transform? Is it like Eren's ability? Are you from beyond the walls? Do you, Hang, Captain Levi interrupted. Give the brat room to breathe before you suffocate him with questions. Hang backed up, but her eyes never left Ben. I'm Ben Tennyson, Ben said. I'm not from your world at all. I'm from a place called Bellwood. I was fighting an enemy called Commander Vex when something went wrong with his dimensional transporter, and I got sent here. Another world? Armin asked, his eyes wide. You mean, beyond the ocean? I mean another dimension entirely, Ben clarified. Where I'm from, we have advanced technology, aliens, that's what I turn into, and no giant titans eating people. And this? Irwin pointed to the Omnitrix. It's called the Omnitrix. It lets me transform into different alien species. It's kind of my job back home to use it to protect people. Levi scoffed. Convenient story. Look, Ben said, frustrated, I don't know why I'm here or how to get back. But those Titan things are hurting people, and I can help stop them. Where I come from, that's what I do. You expect us to trust you? Levi asked. No, Ben admitted. But I helped today, didn't I? And that kid, he nodded toward the door, presumably where Eren was being kept, can turn into one of those things too. So clearly weird stuff happens here too. Hang clapped her hands together. Oh, I like him. Can we keep him, Irwin? Irwin studied Ben carefully. You say you fight to protect people in your world? Yeah. It's kind of my thing. Then you understand duty. Ben nodded. Here's what I propose, Irwin said. You'll join the scout regiment under strict supervision. You'll help us fight Titans and reclaim territory beyond the walls. In exchange, we'll help you find a way back to your world if possible. And if I say no? Ben asked. Levi stepped forward. Then you stay in this cell until we determine you're not a threat. Which might be never. Ben sighed. Guess I don't have much choice, huh? There's always a choice, Irwin said quietly. But some are more practical than others. Fine, Ben agreed. I'll join your scout regiment. But I want to talk to that Eren kid too. Seems like we might have some things in common. Mikasa, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. Eren isn't some exhibition. I didn't say he was, Ben replied. But he's probably as confused about his powers as I was when I first got the Omnitrix. Maybe I can help. Armin put a hand on Mikasa's arm. It might actually be good for Eren to talk to someone else who transforms. Mikasa didn't look convinced but nodded reluctantly. It's settled then, Irwin said. Ben Tennyson, welcome to the Scout Regiment. Training begins tomorrow. Ben's cell door opened early the next morning. Armin stood there, holding what looked like a uniform. Captain Irwin said to bring you these, he said, handing Ben the clothes. It's a training uniform. Ben took it, examining the tan jacket and white pants. No offense, but your fashion sense is about 100 years behind what I'm used to. Armin looked confused. These are standard issue. Never mind, Ben said, changing into the uniform. So what's the plan for today? First, we're going to assess your physical abilities in human form, Armin explained as they walked down the hallway. Then Commander Hang wants to see your transformations in a controlled environment. By controlled environment, you mean she wants to poke and prod me, right? Armin smiled apologetically. She's very enthusiastic about research. They emerged into a courtyard where several other soldiers were already training. Ben immediately spotted Mikasa demonstrating combat moves to younger recruits. She moved with fluid grace, taking down a soldier twice her size with ease. Remind me not to get on her bad side, Ben muttered. Too late for that, Armin replied. Mikasa is very protective of Eren. She doesn't trust you yet. And you do. Armin considered this. I'm cautiously optimistic. You helped us fight the Titans when you could have run away. That counts for something. Captain Levi approached, his face impassive. Arlert, rejoin your squad. I'll handle the new recruits' assessment. Armin saluted and hurried away. Ben tried to copy the salute but Levi cut him off. Don't bother with formalities. Show me what you can do without your transformation device. The next hour was brutal. Levi put Ben through a series of physical tests, running, climbing, strength exercises, that left him gasping for breath. While Ben was in decent shape from his hero work, the scout regiment's training was on another level. Pathetic, Levi declared as Ben collapsed after his 5th lap around the courtyard. Without that watch, you're useless in a fight against Titans. Ben glared up at him. Good thing I have the watch then. And if it fails? If it malfunctions? What then? Ben didn't have a good answer. The Omnitrix had left him stranded in the wrong form or powerless at critical moments before. That's what I thought, Levi said. You'll train like everyone else. You need to learn to use ODM gear. ODM gear? Levi pointed to the mechanical devices strapped to the other soldiers' waists. Omnidirectional mobility gear. It's how we fight Titans. After a brief explanation of how the gear worked, Levi had been fitted with a training harness suspended between 2 posts. Balance yourself, Levi instructed. If you can't master this basic step, you'll never use the actual gear. Ben struggled. Every time he thought he had it, he'd tip forward or backward, sometimes flipping completely upside down. After his 7th failure, he hung there, frustrated. "This is impossible," he complained. "Eren mastered it on his second try," Levi said flatly. That got Ben's attention. Gritting his teeth, he tried again, focusing on distributing his weight evenly. This time, he managed to stay upright for almost 10 seconds before wobbling. "Better," Levi admitted. Again. By lunchtime, Ben could balance consistently for over a minute. His body ached in places he didn't know could ache. When Levi finally released him, Ben practically crawled to the mess hall where the other soldiers were eating. He spotted Armin waving him over to a table where he sat with Mikasa and a now-conscious Eren. Ben grabbed a tray of food, some kind of stew and bread, and joined them. "How was training?" Armin asked. "Captain Levi is a sadist," Ben groaned, slumping onto the bench. "You have no idea," Eren said with feeling. Ben studied Eren with interest. The boy looked ordinary enough, green eyes, brown hair, intense expression. Nothing about him suggested he could transform into a 15-meter titan. "So," Ben said, "you can turn into one of those titan things?" The mess hall went quiet. Eren stiffened, and Mikasa's hand moved subtly toward her knife. "Sorry," Ben backtracked. "Where I come from, we're a bit more open about superpowers." "It's not a superpower," Eren said quietly. "And I'm not like the other titans." "I didn't mean, it's fine," Eren interrupted. "Yes, I can transform into a titan. I don't fully understand it myself." Ben nodded. "I get that. When I first got the Omnitrix, I had no idea what I was doing either." "The difference is," Mikasa said coldly, "your watch is a tool. Eren's power is part of him." "Fair point," Ben conceded. "Can you control it? The transformation?" Eren exchanged looks with his friends. "Sometimes. I need a clear goal, and I have to injure myself to trigger it." "You have to hurt yourself?" Ben asked, surprised. "That's rough. How does yours work?" Armin asked, clearly trying to steer the conversation to less sensitive territory. Ben held up his wrist, showing the Omnitrix. "I select which alien I want to become and activate it. The transformation lasts until I manually change back or the Omnitrix times out after a while." "And you can turn into different aliens?" Eren asked skeptically. "Over 60 of them at last count," Ben confirmed. "Each with different abilities." "Prove it," Mikasa challenged. Ben looked around the crowded mess hall. Probably not the best place. After lunch, Armin suggested. "Commander Hang wants to see your transformations anyway." They ate in awkward silence for a few minutes before Eren spoke again. "Yesterday, when you were fighting as that dinosaur thing, Humongosaur," Ben supplied. "Right. You seem to know what you were doing. Have you fought monsters before?" Ben laughed. "Dude, fighting monsters is basically my full-time job back home. Though nothing quite like your titans." "What kinds of monsters?" Armin asked, his eyes lighting up with curiosity. Ben spent the rest of lunch telling them about some of his adventures, fighting the hybrid invasion, stopping a Gregor, defeating Vilgax multiple times. With each story, he could see Eren becoming more engaged, Armin more fascinated, and even Mikasa's icy exterior thawing slightly. "And this Commander Vex?" Armin asked. "He's how you ended up here?" "Yeah," Ben said, sobering. "He's a collector of rare artifacts from different dimensions. He wanted the Omnitrix for his collection. During our fight, his dimensional transporter malfunctioned, and here I am." "Do you think he could have ended up here too?" Mikasa asked sharply. Ben hadn't considered that. "I don't know. It's possible, I guess." "Great," Eren muttered. As if regular titans weren't enough to worry about. After lunch, they headed to a secluded training ground where Hang was waiting with several assistants and what looked like scientific equipment. "Ben," she exclaimed, rushing over. "I've been waiting all morning." Please tell me you're ready to transform for science.
Sure, Ben said, slightly overwhelmed by her enthusiasm.
Excellent. I've prepared a series of tests to measure your physiological changes, strength capacities, sensory abilities, and, hang, Irwin interrupted, approaching from a nearby building. Remember our agreement. Observation only for today. Hang pouted but nodded. What would you like to see first? Ben asked, already cycling through his aliens on the Omnitrix. Something different from yesterday, Irwin suggested. Ben grinned. I know just the one. He slammed down on the Omnitrix and transformed in a flash of green light. Swamp fire. The assembled soldiers gasped as Ben transformed into a plant-like humanoid with a flame-patterned head. This is incredible. Hang exclaimed, circling swamp fire. Vegetable-based biology. Are those actual flames? Sort of, Swampfire answered in his nasal voice. I can generate methane and ignite it. He demonstrated by creating a small fireball in his palm. And what other abilities does this form possess? Irwin asked. Regeneration, super strength, and I can control plants, Swampfire explained. He reached toward some nearby weeds, which immediately grew and twisted into shapes at his command. Can all your transformations talk? Aaron asked. Most of them. Some are more animal-like, though. For the next 2 hours, Ben cycled through different aliens, demonstrating their abilities while Hang took notes frantically and the others watched with varying degrees of amazement. He showed them Diamond Head's crystal manipulation, Heat Blast's fire powers, XLR-8's super speed, and several others. After transforming back from 4 arms, Ben noticed Aaron watching him with an unreadable expression. What? Ben asked. You control them perfectly, Aaron said quietly. Every transformation. You're in complete control. Ben understood. It wasn't always like that. It took practice. How did you learn? Trial and error, mostly, Ben admitted. And I had help. Irwin, who had been observing silently, stepped forward. I think that's enough for today. Ben, tomorrow you'll begin proper ODM training. Aaron, you have your own training schedule. As everyone began to disperse, Ben approached Aaron. Hey, if you want, I could try to help you with your transformation control. I'm not an expert on Titan powers or anything, but I've had my share of transformation issues. Aaron seemed to consider this. Maybe. I don't know if it would work. Couldn't hurt to try, right? Before Aaron could answer, a soldier ran into the training ground. Captain Irwin. Urgent news from Wall Rose. Irwin's expression darkened. Report. Unusual Titan activity, sir. And, something else. Witnesses report seeing a strange man controlling the Titans with some kind of device. Ben's blood ran cold. What did this man look like? The soldier turned to Ben. Tall, armor plating on his shoulders and chest, skull-like face. Vex, Ben whispered. He's here. That night, Ben sat on his assigned bunk in the barracks, trying to process everything. Commander Vex was in this world too, and somehow he was already interfering with the Titans. This complicated everything. The door opened, and Armin entered with a stack of books. I thought you might want to learn more about our world, he said, setting the books on Ben's bed. History, geography, information about Titans, everything we know. Thanks, Ben said, picking up one of the books. Though I was never much of a reader. That was more my cousin Gwen's thing. Armin sat on the edge of the bed. You mentioned your cousin earlier. You miss your family? Yeah, Ben admitted. My parents, Grandpa Max, Gwen, my friend Kevin, they must be worried sick. I'm sorry you're stuck here, Armin said sincerely. But, we're grateful for your help. Ben nodded, then opened one of the books. So these Titans, they just appeared one day and started eating people. That's what our history says. Humanity retreated behind 3 walls, Maria, Rose, and Sina. We lived in peace for 100 years until 5 years ago when a colossal titan appeared and breached Wall Maria. And nobody knows where they come from. Armin hesitated. There are theories. But nothing certain. Ben sensed Armin wasn't telling him everything, but he didn't push. And Eren? How did he get his powers? That's complicated, Armin said. And not really my story to tell. The door opened again, and Eren entered with Mikasa. There you are, Eren said to Armin. Captain Levi's looking for you. Something about expedition plans. Armin stood quickly. I'd better go. Good night, Ben. After Armin left, an awkward silence fell. Mikasa stood by the door while Eren hovered uncertainly. You can sit if you want, Ben offered. I don't bite in any of my forms. Eren cracked a small smile at that and sat on the bed opposite Ben's. Mikasa remained standing. I've been thinking about your offer, Eren said. To help me with control. And I want to try. I can't afford to lose control of my Titan form. Too many people depend on me. Ben nodded. I get that. The pressure, I mean. Back home, I've saved the world more times than I can count. One mistake could cost everything. Exactly, Eren said, sounding relieved that someone understood. So, how do we start? First, I need to understand your transformation better. How exactly do you trigger it? Eren glanced at Mikasa, who finally spoke. He has to have a clear goal in mind, and he needs to injure himself, usually by biting his hand. That's the physical trigger, Ben mused. But from what I've seen with the Omnitrix, mental state matters too. When I'm angry or scared, sometimes the transformations act differently. That happens to me too, Eren admitted. When I'm too angry, I can lose myself in the Titan. Then that's where we start, Ben decided. Mental focus exercises. Learning to maintain your sense of self even during extreme emotions. You think that will work? Mikasa asked skeptically. It helped me, Ben said. I had an alien form called Wrath that's basically a walking anger management problem. I had to learn to stay focused even when the alien's instincts wanted to take over. Eren leaned forward eagerly. When can we start? Tomorrow, after regular training? Ben suggested. Eren nodded. I'll be there. For the first time since arriving in this world, Ben felt like he might be making a real connection. He still needed to find a way home, and stop Vex, but maybe he could do some good here first. By the way, Ben said, what's the deal with Captain Levi? That guy makes my high school gym teacher look friendly. Eren's expression became serious. Captain Levi is humanity's strongest soldier. He's killed more Titans than anyone. He saved Eren's life, Mikasa added. Multiple times. Okay, so he's a hero with a bad attitude. Got it. Ben yawned. Well, I should probably get some sleep. Something tells me tomorrow's training is going to be even worse than today's. Eren stood. Probably. Levi doesn't believe in taking it easy on new recruits. Great, Ben muttered. As Eren and Mikasa headed for the door, Eren paused. Hey, Ben. Thanks. After they left, Ben lay back on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. Commander Vex controlling Titans was a terrifying thought. The villain was dangerous enough on his own, with an army of Titans at his command, he could be unstoppable. But that was tomorrow's problem. For now, Ben needed rest. He closed his eyes, hoping that for once, the universe would cut him a break. The next morning came too soon. Ben barely had time to eat breakfast before Captain Levi appeared at his table. Time for ODM training, he announced. Try not to kill yourself. Good morning to you too, Ben muttered. They headed to a forest area within wall rows where tall trees provided the perfect training ground for ODM gear. Several other scout regiment members were already there, including Eren, Mikasa, and Armin. A soldier named ELD Jin helped Ben into the full ODM gear, a complicated system of straps, gas canisters, and the grappling hook launchers. The triggers in your hands control the gas output and the firing of the hooks, ELD explained. It requires precise coordination and timing. Sounds easy enough, Ben said confidently. 5 minutes later, he was tangled upside down in his own cables, dangling from a tree branch. I told you to fire one hook at a time. ELD called up to him. Yeah, got that now, thanks, Ben replied sarcastically. It took another hour before Ben could reliably swing from tree to tree without crashing. By lunchtime, he was sore but starting to get the hang of it. Not bad for a beginner, Eren admitted as they sat eating lunch on a fallen log. Took me longer to get comfortable with it. It's actually kind of fun once you get the timing down, Ben said. Like being Spider-Man. Spider who? Armin asked. Never mind. Just a superhero from my world. After lunch, Captain Erwin arrived with Commander Hang and Captain Levi. His expression was serious. We've received more reports about the strange man controlling Titans, Erwin announced. He was spotted near a small village outside Wall Rose. Witnesses say he has a device that emits a signal the Titans respond to. That sounds like Vex, Ben confirmed. He's probably using alien tech to control them. Can you counter it? Levi asked. Ben thought for a moment. Maybe. I'd need to see it in action first. You'll get your chance, Erwin said. We're mounting an expedition to investigate. It leaves tomorrow at dawn. Ben's heart raced. I'm going, right? Yes, Erwin confirmed. Your knowledge of this Commander Vex could be valuable. But, he added sternly, you'll follow orders. No heroics. Ben saluted, only half ironically. Yes, sir. The expedition will include the Special Operations Squad, Erwin continued. Levi, Hang, Eren, Mikasa, Armin, and several others. We'll travel on horseback to the village, investigate, and return before nightfall. Horseback. Ben groaned. I don't suppose you guys have invented cars yet. The blank looks answered his question. Never mind, Ben sighed. Horses it is. After Erwin finished explaining the mission details, the group split up to prepare. Ben followed Eren to the equipment shed where they began checking ODM gear for the expedition. So, Ben said casually, these expeditions. They're dangerous, right? Eren's hands stilled. Very. The mortality rate for Scout Regiment soldiers is high. Great, Ben muttered. You can transform into those aliens, Eren pointed out. You have better chances than most of us. True. But the Omnitrix isn't perfect. Sometimes it times out at the worst possible moment. Eren nodded understanding. My Titan form has limitations too. I can only maintain it for a few hours at most before exhaustion sets in. They worked in silence for a while before Eren spoke again. If you see your Commander Vex tomorrow, what will you do? Ben considered this. Try to capture him, I guess. He might be my only way home. And if you had to choose between capturing him and saving someone's life? Then I'd save the person, Ben said without hesitation. There's always another way home. Eren seemed satisfied with this answer. Good. Because in the Scout Regiment, we don't leave people behind. The rest of the day passed quickly with final preparations for the expedition. By nightfall, Ben was exhausted but too wired to sleep. He sat outside the barracks, looking up at the unfamiliar stars. Can't sleep? A voice asked. Ben turned to see Armin approaching with a lantern. Just thinking, Ben replied. About home, about Vex, about tomorrow. Armin sat beside him. What's it like? Your world. Ben smiled. Noisy. Busy. Full of technology you can't imagine. Cars that drive themselves, buildings that touch the clouds, devices that let you talk to someone on the other side of the world instantly. Sounds amazing, Armin said wistfully. It has its problems too, Ben admitted. But at least we don't have Titans. Do you think you'll find a way back? Ben shrugged. I hope so. But until then, I'll help you guys as much as I can. Armin studied Ben's face in the lantern light. You know, when Eren first told us about his Titan powers, we were shocked, scared even. But we accepted him because he's still Eren. I think it's the same with you. Your powers are strange to us, but you're still just a person trying to do the right thing. Thanks, Armin, Ben said, genuinely touched. That means a lot. They sat in comfortable silence for a while before Armin spoke again. You should get some rest. Tomorrow will be demanding. Ben nodded and stood. You're right. Good night, Armin. Good night, Ben. And, good luck tomorrow. As Ben headed back to his bunk, he couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would change everything, for better or worse. Dawn broke with a red sky. Ben stood in the courtyard with the other Scout Regiment members, adjusting his ODM gear one last time. Around him, soldiers mounted horses and checked supplies. Here, Mikasa said, approaching with a green cloak bearing the Scout Regiment's Wings of Freedom insignia. You'll need this. Ben took it with surprise. Thanks. Don't thank me, she replied. Captain Erwin insisted. You're part of the regiment now, at least temporarily. Ben put on the cloak, feeling its weight on his shoulders. In a strange way, it reminded him of his superhero identity back home, a symbol of responsibility. Eren rode up on horseback, leading a second horse. This one's yours. His name is Rusty. Great, Ben muttered, eyeing the horse warily. Rusty and I will get along fine as long as he doesn't try to throw me off. Mounting the horse took several embarrassing attempts, but eventually Ben was seated and ready to go. Captain Erwin raised his arm, and the expedition began, riding out through the gate in tight formation. The countryside beyond Wall Rose was beautiful but eerie. Abandoned villages and farms dotted the landscape, reminders of territory lost to the Titans. Ben rode near the center of the formation, between Eren and Armin. Keep your eyes open, Levi called from the front. Titans could appear at any time. They rode for nearly 2 hours before reaching their destination, a small village that showed signs of recent Titan activity. Damaged buildings, massive footprints in the mud, but strangely, no bodies. Spread out, Erwin ordered as they dismounted. Search for survivors or signs of this Commander Vex. Ben activated the Omnitrix, cycling to XLR-8. I'll scout ahead faster this way. He transformed and zoomed through the village in seconds, checking each building before returning to the group. No survivors, he reported after changing back. But there's something weird about the Titan tracks. They all lead in the same direction, like they were being guided. North, Hang noted, examining the tracks. Toward the forest. It could be a trap, Levi warned. Or it could lead us to Vex, Ben countered. Erwin considered their options. We'll follow the tracks, but cautiously. Ben, can you transform into something that can handle Titans if we're ambushed? Ben nodded. Several options. Humongousaur, way big, Diamond Head. Be ready, Erwin said. Eren, you too. They remounted and followed the Titan tracks into a dense forest. The tall trees blocked much of the sunlight, casting the forest floor in shadow. Ben felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. I don't like this, Mikasa murmured. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Birds scattered from the trees, screeching warnings. Titans, a scout shouted. 3 Titans burst through the trees ahead, a 5-meter, a 12-meter, and a 15-meter. But something was different about them. Each had a metallic device attached to its neck, glowing with a pulsing blue light. "What the hell?" Levi muttered. "Vex Tech," Ben confirmed, dismounting quickly. "He's controlling them." The Titans charged with coordination Ben hadn't seen before. Their movements weren't shambling or random but precise and tactical. "Scatter," Irwin ordered. The scout regiment dispersed, firing ODM hooks into the trees and taking to the air. Ben slammed down on the Omnitrix. Diamond Head. His body transformed into the crystalline alien form, hard as diamond and capable of generating crystal projectiles. Diamond Head charged the smallest Titan, firing crystal shards at the device on its neck. The shards bounced off a force field surrounding the device. "They're shielded," he called out. Above, the scout regiment soldiers attacked with precision, but the Titans predicted their movements, swatting them away like flies. 2 soldiers were caught and killed before Levi intervened, spinning through the air in a blur of blades to free the remaining squad members. "Aaron, transform," Irwin commanded. Aaron bit his hand, transforming in a flash of green lightning into his Titan form. He roared and charged the largest Titan, grappling with it as the ground shook beneath their massive bodies. Diamond Head changed tactics, creating a crystal ramp and sliding up to the 12-meter Titan's shoulder. From there, he could see the device clearly, a small metal disc with Vex skull insignia, pulsing with blue energy. "Let's try this again," he muttered, forming his arm into a sharp blade. He stabbed at the device, trying to pry it off rather than destroy it. The force field resisted, but after several attempts, Diamond had managed to slip his blade underneath and pop the device free. The effect was immediate. The Titan stopped fighting, its movements becoming erratic and unfocused, more like the normal Titans Ben had first encountered. "The devices control them," Diamond Head shouted. "Remove the devices." Levi didn't hesitate, diving toward the 5-meter Titan and striking precisely at its control device. The device sparked and fell away, and this Titan too reverted to normal behavior. Aaron was still wrestling with the largest Titan, both crashing through trees as they fought. Diamond Head could see the control device on its neck, but Aaron's wild fighting style made it impossible to get close enough to remove it. "Aaron!" Armin called from a nearby tree. "Hold it still." Whether Aaron understood or just got lucky, he managed to pin the Titan against a massive oak tree, exposing its neck. Mikasa swooped in with incredible speed, slashing at the control device. It fell away, and the Titan went limp in Aaron's grasp. As the scout regiment regrouped, the normal Titans began wandering aimlessly through the forest. Levi and his squad quickly dispatched them with precision strikes to their napes. Diamond Head picked up one of the fallen control devices, examining it carefully. "This is definitely Vex technology, but he's modified it to interface with Titan biology somehow." "How?" Heng asked, nearly vibrating with scientific curiosity despite the danger they just faced. "I don't know," Diamond Head admitted. "He must have been studying the Titans since he arrived." The Omnitrix timed out, and Ben returned to human form. Aaron's Titan form was also dissolving, Mikasa moving to retrieve him from the nape. "This changes everything," Irwin said grimly. "If these devices can control Titans, then Vex can create an army," Ben finished. "But why? What does he want?" "The same thing he wanted in your world, perhaps," Armin suggested. "Rare artifacts." Ben's blood ran cold as realization dawned. "The coordinate." Everyone turned to look at him. "The what?" Levi asked sharply. Ben looked at their confused faces and realized he'd spoken aloud. "Sorry, I don't know where that came from. It just popped into my head when I was holding the device." Irwin and Levi exchanged significant looks that Ben couldn't interpret. "We should return to Wall Rose," Irwin decided. "We have what we came for, confirmation that this Commander Vex is indeed here and controlling Titans. We need to plan our next move carefully." As they remounted their horses, Ben noticed Aaron watching him with an unreadable expression. When they were riding side by side again, Aaron spoke quietly. The coordinate. How did you know that term? I don't know, Ben admitted. It was like the device triggered something in my mind. The Omnitrix, Armin suggested, riding up beside them. Could it be reacting to this world somehow? Learning from it? Maybe, Ben said, looking down at the watch. It's adapted before, gained new abilities in response to situations. Keep this between us for now, Aaron said seriously. That term, it's significant. Ben nodded, though he wasn't sure why this was so important. The ride back to Walrose was tense and mostly silent, everyone processing what they'd witnessed. As the wall came into view, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed, not just in the mission, but in himself. The Omnitrix felt different somehow, resonating with this world in a way he didn't understand. And somewhere out there, Commander Vex was planning his next move. Whatever he wanted in this world, Ben was determined to stop him, not just to find a way home, but because these people, this scout regiment, had become his allies. Maybe even his friends. The sun was setting as they passed through the gate, casting long shadows across the courtyard. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers. But for now, they had survived, and they had information. It was a start. Chapter 2, Trust the Monster. Ben woke up with his muscles screaming. Every part of his body felt like it had been stretched, pounded, and wrung out after yesterday's expedition. The scout regiment didn't mess around. Rise and shine, Tennyson. Captain Levi's voice cut through the barracks. Special training starts in 15 minutes. Ben groaned and rolled over. What kind of special training? The kind where I find out just how useful those transformations of yours really are. Levi tossed a bundle of clothes onto Ben's bunk. And don't be late. After Levi left, Ben dragged himself out of bed. The other recruits were already up and moving, giving him curious glances. Word had spread about the alien shapeshifter fighting alongside them. Morning, Armin said, approaching with a steaming mug. Thought you might need this. Ben accepted the drink gratefully, then nearly choked on the first sip. What is this? It tastes like someone boiled dirt. Tea, Armin replied apologetically. It's not great, but it helps with soreness. Ben forced himself to drink it. Thanks. So what's this special training Levi mentioned? Captain Irwin wants to see how your transformations might complement our ODM tactics, Armin explained. We need every advantage against the Titans, especially now that Commander Vex is controlling them. 15 minutes later, Ben stood in the training yard with Levi, Irwin, Hang, and a small group that included Aaron, Mikasa, and several senior scout regiment members. Based on yesterday's encounter, Irwin began, we need to develop new strategies to counter the controlled Titans. They're more intelligent, coordinated, and dangerous than normal Titans. Which is saying something, Ben muttered. Tennyson, Irwin continued, your transformations provide capabilities we've never had access to before. Today, we'll test them against various combat scenarios. Hang stepped forward, practically bouncing with excitement. I've set up simulation exercises based on our records of previous Titan encounters. We want to see which of your forms might be most effective in different situations. Makes sense, Ben said, already cycling through the Omnitrix. Where do we start? With the basics, Levi said. How high can you jump? How fast can you run? How hard can you hit? We need measurable data. Over the next 2 hours, Ben transformed into different aliens while Hang enthusiastically recorded their capabilities. For arms lifted massive wooden logs Hang had prepared. XLR-8 ran a course through the training grounds in seconds. Wildmutt tracked hidden targets by scent. Diamond Head withstood direct strikes from Levi without flinching. Fascinating. Hang exclaimed after each demonstration. The potential applications are endless. After testing 10 different transformations, Ben reverted to human form, breathing hard. The Omnitrix needed time to recharge, and he needed a break. "Drink," Mikasa said, handing him a water flask. "Thanks." Ben gulped it down. "You guys do this every day?" "Training?" "Yes," she replied. "We can't afford not to." Ben watched as Eren practiced ODM maneuvers nearby, swinging between wooden Titan dummies with controlled precision. Despite their rough start, Ben had to admire Eren's determination. "He works harder than anyone," Mikasa said, following Ben's gaze. "Because of his Titan powers?" She nodded. "He feels he has to prove himself. Everyone watches him, waiting for him to fail or lose control." "I get that," Ben said. "Back home, people are always judging me by how I use the Omnitrix. One mistake, and they forget all the good you've done." Mikasa looked at him with slightly softer eyes. "You understand him better than most, then." Their conversation was interrupted when Levi called them back for the next phase of training. "Now for practical application," Erwin announced. "We've constructed Titan dummies in the forest training ground. Squad Levi will engage as they normally would, while Ben provides support with his transformations. We need to develop coordination between our ODM tactics and your abilities." The forest training ground was impressive, massive trees with targets resembling Titans positioned throughout. The scout regiment soldiers took to the air with their ODM gear, demonstrating the techniques they'd use in actual combat. "Your turn, Tennyson," Levi said. "Choose a form and join the exercise." Ben transformed into Heat Blast. "This should be interesting." He launched himself into the trees, propelling his fiery body with controlled flame bursts. The scout regiment members swerved around him, adjusting their trajectories to accommodate his presence. "Target the nape," Levi shouted, directing both his squad and Ben. Heat Blast hurled fireballs at the wooden Titans' weak points while the soldiers slashed at them with their blades. The coordination was rough at first. Several times, Ben nearly collided with a swinging soldier, but they gradually developed a rhythm. After 15 minutes, Erwin called a halt. "Switch forms, Ben. We need to test different configurations." The exercises continued with Ben cycling through Stinkfly, Diamondhead, and Wildvine. Each transformation required different tactics from the scout regiment, who adapted with impressive flexibility. During a break, Eren approached Ben. "Those transformations, they all have different powers, but you control them the same way?" "More or less," Ben replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Some have stronger instincts than others, but yeah, I'm always in control." Eren frowned. "And you can switch between them whenever you want?" "As long as the Omnitrix is charged, yeah." "Must be nice," Eren muttered. Ben sensed the tension. "Look, I know it's different for you. But that's why I offered to help, remember?" Before Eren could respond, a commotion erupted at the edge of the training ground. A messenger had arrived on horseback, face pale with urgency. "Captain Erwin." The messenger called. "Emergency report from the Wall Garrison. Abnormal Titan activity 2 kilometers south of here, they're moving in formation, sir." "Vex," Ben said immediately. "Has to be." Erwin's expression hardened. "How many?" "5 confirmed, sir. All wearing some kind of metal device." "Just like yesterday," Hang murmured. "Prepare to move out," Erwin ordered. "Full combat readiness in 5 minutes." The training ground erupted into organized chaos as soldiers prepared for battle. Ben approached Erwin. "I should go with you," he said. "Those are Vex devices controlling the Titans." "Agreed," Erwin nodded. "Your knowledge of this technology makes you essential. But," he added sternly, "you follow orders. This isn't your world, and you don't know the Titans like we do." "Fair enough," Ben agreed. "What's the plan?" "Intercept and neutralize. If these Titans are being controlled, they have a purpose, most likely to test defenses or gather information. We need to stop them before they reach any civilian areas. 5 minutes later, the scout regiment rode out in tight formation. Ben had transformed into XLR-8 to keep pace with the horses, his velociraptor-like form speeding alongside them. 2 kilometers ahead, a forward scout called back. "I'll scout ahead," XLR-8 offered, accelerating to his top speed. He covered the distance in seconds, skidding to a stop at the edge of a clearing. What he saw made him freeze. 5 Titans, each fitted with Vex control devices, moved in perfect synchronization. But what disturbed Ben most was that they were gathering materials, uprooting trees, collecting large rocks, and piling them together. "They're building something," he muttered. XLR-8 raced back to the approaching scout regiment. "They're in the clearing ahead. 5 Titans, all controlled, and they're constructing something." "Building?" Hank's eyes widened. "Titans don't build things. They don't have that level of intelligence." "These do," XLR-8 insisted. "With Vex tech controlling them." Irwin divided the regiment into tactical teams. "Our priority is removing those control devices. Ben, can you distract them while our ODM squads move into position?" "On it," XLR-8 said, but the Omnitrix was already timing out. "Just give me a second to switch forms." When the green flash faded, Ben quickly selected a new alien. Humungosaur. The 12-foot dinosaur alien charged into the clearing, drawing the Titan's attention. All 5 turned to face him with an unnerving synchronicity, abandoning their construction. "Hey uglies!" Humungosaur shouted. "Looking for something interesting? Try me." The Titans moved with coordinated precision, surrounding Humungosaur in a tactical pattern no normal Titan could execute. One, a 15-meter with disproportionately long arms, reached for him from the left while another approached from the right. Humungosaur growled and increased his size to the full 20 feet, matching the Titans in height. He grabbed the reaching arm and used it to swing the Titan into another, sending both crashing to the ground. The distraction worked. Scout regiment soldiers flew through the air on ODM gear, targeting the control devices on the Titans' necks. Levi moved so fast he was almost a blur, slicing through the air toward the largest Titan. But these controlled Titans were ready. One swatted a soldier from the air like a fly, sending them crashing into a tree. Another ducked, under Levi's approach, forcing him to readjust mid-air. "They're anticipating our attacks," Hank called from a nearby tree. "Normal Titans can't do that." Humungosaur grappled with a 14-meter Titan, trying to hold it still. "Someone get this thing's controller." Mikasa responded instantly, firing her hooks into the Titan's shoulders and launching herself toward its neck. With a precise slash, she cut the device free. The effect was immediate, the Titan's movements became erratic, its coordination lost. "One down," she called. But the remaining controlled Titans adapted quickly. They clustered together, protecting each other's necks, making it nearly impossible for the soldiers to get clean shots at their control devices. "We need to separate them," Irwin commanded. "I've got it," Humungosaur said. He charged the group, throwing his full weight into the center Titan. The impact scattered them, creating the opening the scout regiment needed. Levi and his squad struck with coordinated precision, removing 2 more control devices in quick succession. But as they moved toward the 4th Titan, something unexpected happened. The device on its neck began pulsing with red light instead of blue. "Something's wrong," Humungosaur warned. The Titan convulsed, its body contorting unnaturally. Its skin bulged as if something were pushing out from inside. With a wet, tearing sound, metal spikes erupted from the Titan's shoulders, back, and arms, extensions of Vex technology, integrating with the creature's flesh. "What the hell?" a soldier gasped. The enhanced Titan roared, not the mindless sound of a normal Titan, but something pained and furious. It moved with frightening speed, snatching two soldiers from the air before anyone could react. Levi barely dodged its grasp, his blades bouncing harmlessly off the metal protrusions. "Our blades can't cut the metal," he shouted. The fifth Titan began undergoing the same transformation, its control device glowing red as metal erupted from its body. "Fall back and regroup," Erwin ordered. Humongousaur stood his ground. "I can handle the metal parts. Focus on removing those devices." He charged the enhanced Titans, tackling the first one to the ground. Up close, he could see how Vex's technology had fused with the Titan's flesh, creating a horrific hybrid of organic and mechanical parts. The control device at the nape now sat within a metal cage, protected from direct attack. "Hang!" Humongousaur called. "The devices are shielded now. We need a new approach." Hang swung to a nearby tree, observing intently despite the danger. "The metal conducting the electricity, if we could overload it somehow." That gave Humongousaur an idea. He reverted to Ben, immediately cycling to a new form. "Feedback." The plug-headed alien grinned, electricity crackling between his fingers. "Let's see how your tech handles a power surge, Vex." Feedback leaped onto the enhanced Titan's back, plugging his fingers into the metal protrusions. He began draining the electrical energy from the control device, absorbing it into his own body. The Titan thrashed wildly, trying to dislodge him. "Hold it still," Feedback shouted. Aaron, who had been watching from the sidelines, bit his hand hard. Green lightning flashed as he transformed into his Titan form with a roar. He grappled the enhanced Titan, pinning its arms while Feedback continued draining the device's power. The control device sparked and smoked, its red glow flickering. With a final surge, Feedback overloaded the system, causing the device to short-circuit and detach from the Titan's neck. The metal protrusions went limp, no longer powered. "It worked," Feedback called. "Aaron, the other one." Aaron's Titan turned to engage the remaining enhanced Titan. Together, they repeated the process, Aaron restraining it while Feedback drained and overloaded its control device. When the final device fell away, the clearing fell quiet except for the hissing of steam as the Titans began to disintegrate, their controllers removed. Feedback reverted to Ben, who collapsed to one knee, exhausted from the energy absorption. Aaron's Titan form knelt beside him, steam rising as Aaron himself emerged from the nape. "Nice teamwork," Ben managed with a tired grin. Erwin approached, surveying the fallen Titans and the strange pile of materials they had been gathering. What were they building? Ben examined the collection of trees, rocks, and what appeared to be scavenged metal parts from abandoned settlements. "It looks like components for something bigger. Like they were gathering materials for Vex." "A weapon?" Levi suggested grimly. "Maybe," Ben said. "But I'm more worried about those enhanced Titans. Vex is adapting his technology, making it harder to counter." Hang was already examining the fallen control devices with fascination. "The integration with Titan biology is remarkable. He's found a way to use the Titans' regenerative abilities to incorporate his technology directly into their bodies." "Can you figure out how to block the signal controlling them?" Erwin asked. "With time, perhaps," Hang replied. "But I'd need to understand how these devices work first." Ben picked up one of the damaged controllers. "I might be able to help with that. In my world, I've dealt with a lot of alien tech." As the scout regiment gathered their wounded and prepared to return to the walls, Ben noticed Aaron sitting apart from the others, looking exhausted and troubled. Ben approached and sat beside him. "You good?" he asked. Aaron didn't look up. "I transformed just fine this time. Maintained control." "That's good, right?" "It shouldn't be exceptional," Aaron said bitterly. "It should be normal. You make it look so easy, switching between forms, always in control." "It wasn't always easy," Ben admitted. "When I first got the Omnitrix, I was a kid. 10 years old. I made tons of mistakes, transformed at the wrong times, couldn't control the aliens' powers properly. This caught Aaron's attention. What changed? Practice. Experience. And accepting that the transformations are part of me, not separate from me. Ben looked at the Omnitrix. You fight your Titan form like it's your enemy. Maybe you need to accept it as part of yourself. Aaron was quiet for a long moment. When I'm in Titan form, there's a rage that wants to consume everything. It's hard to hold on to myself. Then don't fight the rage, Ben suggested. Direct it. Channel it toward your goals instead of trying to suppress it. Before Aaron could respond, Mikasa approached. We're heading back. Captain Erwin wants us to return before dark. The ride back to Walrose was somber. 2 soldiers had died in the battle, and several others were injured. Ben rode in silence, turning over the fight in his mind. Vex was escalating, his technology becoming more integrated with the Titans. Whatever he was planning, it was advancing quickly. As they passed through the gate into the safety of the walls, Ben caught Armin watching him with a thoughtful expression. What? Ben asked. You and Aaron, Armin said quietly. When you work together against those enhanced Titans, I've never seen him coordinate that well with anyone in his Titan form. We both transform, Ben shrugged. Maybe there's some kind of understanding there. Armin's eyes narrowed slightly. Maybe. Or maybe it's something about your Omnitrix and his Titan powers resonating with each other. Ben glanced down at the device on his wrist. He hadn't mentioned to anyone how the Omnitrix had felt warm during the battle, especially when Aaron transformed nearby. You think they're connected somehow? I don't know, Armin admitted. But after you mentioned the coordinate yesterday, I've been wondering. Before Ben could press for more information, Captain Erwin called for their attention. We'll hold a full debriefing in 1 hour. Everyone get cleaned up and meet in the command room. The command room was crowded with Scout Regiment officers and the key members of the recent expedition. Maps covered the walls, marked with reported Titan sightings and suspected locations of Vex activity. The recovered control devices sat on a table, partially disassembled by Hang. Based on today's encounter, Erwin began, we're dealing with a significant escalation in threat. These enhanced Titans represent a new tactical challenge we're not currently equipped to handle. The metal augmentations render our blades ineffective, Levi added. Standard ODM tactics won't work against them. But Ben's electrical alien form was able to neutralize them, Hang pointed out excitedly. And Aaron's Titan form could physically restrain them long enough for Ben to disable the control devices. All eyes turned to Ben and Aaron, who sat at opposite ends of the table. Can you consistently transform into that electrical form? Erwin asked Ben. Feedback? Yeah, as long as the Omnitrix is charged, Ben replied. But Vex is smart. He'll adapt his technology once he realizes we've found a counter. Then we need to strike preemptively, Levi stated. Find this Commander Vex and eliminate the threat at its source. Ben shifted uncomfortably. Vex isn't like the Titans. He's calculating, resourceful, and has access to technology you've never seen before. Going after him directly could be walking into a trap. Do you have a better suggestion? Levi challenged. Actually, yeah, Ben said, leaning forward. Vex wants something here. The Titans were collecting materials, building something. If we can figure out what he's after, we might be able to predict his next move. Armin cleared his throat. I've been analyzing the reports of controlled Titan sightings. They form a pattern, all within a 30-kilometer radius of a specific location. He pointed to a spot on the map, an area within Wall Maria territory, lost to the Titans 5 years ago. Shiganshina district, Aaron said quietly. Ben noticed the tension that suddenly filled the room. What's significant about that place? Erwin and Levi exchanged looks before Erwin spoke. It's where the first breach occurred 5 years ago. Where the colossal Titan first appeared. And it's Aaron's hometown, Armin added softly. Ben looked at Aaron, whose face had gone pale. Is there something their Vex might want? Something valuable or powerful? The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken knowledge. Finally, Erwin spoke. There might be. But reaching Shiganshina would require a full-scale expedition beyond Wall Rose, through Titan territory. We're not prepared for that yet, especially with these enhanced Titans in play. Then what do we do? Ben asked. We gather more intelligence, Erwin decided. And we develop new tactics to counter the enhanced Titans. Ben, you and Hang will work on understanding the control devices. Aaron, you need to improve your Titan transformation control for extended combat situations. Aaron nodded, determination replacing the uncertainty on his face. Dismissed for now, Erwin concluded. Get some rest. Training resumes at dawn. As the meeting broke up, Ben caught up to Aaron in the hallway. Hey, about what we were discussing earlier, controlling your Titan form. I meant what I said about helping. Aaron hesitated, then nodded. Tonight, after dinner. The old training grounds behind the barracks. I'll be there, Ben promised. Dinner in the mess hall was subdued. The loss of 2 soldiers weighed heavily on everyone. Ben sat with Armin, picking at food he still wasn't used to. So what's the deal with Shiganshina? Ben asked quietly. Everyone got weird when it came up. Armin glanced around to make sure no one was listening. It's complicated. Shiganshina is where everything started, the fall of Wall Maria, the appearance of the colossal and armored Titans. But there's more to it, isn't there? Ben pressed. Something you're not telling me. Armin looked uncomfortable. There are theories about what might be in Aaron's basement in Shiganshina. His father was a doctor who knew things. Before the wall fell, he gave Aaron a key and told him the basement held the truth about the Titans. And no one's gone back to check. We can't. Shiganshina is deep in Titan territory now. Every expedition beyond the walls results in heavy casualties. We haven't made it that far in 5 years. Ben frowned. And you think Vex somehow knows about this basement? How? I don't know, Armin admitted. But if he can control Titans, maybe he can communicate with them too. Maybe they know things we don't. The conversation was interrupted when Mikasa sat down across from them, her dark eyes moving between Ben and Armin suspiciously. What are you two discussing? She asked. Just filling Ben in on some history, Armin said smoothly. He needs context to understand our world. Mikasa didn't look convinced but let it drop. Aaron's already headed to the training ground. He said you're going to help him with his transformation. Ben nodded, standing. That's the plan. Want to come? I always watch Aaron's training, she stated, as if it were obvious. The old training ground was a clearing surrounded by trees, far enough from the barracks to provide privacy. Aaron was already there, pacing nervously. You came, he said when he saw Ben, sounding slightly surprised. Said I would, didn't I? Ben replied. So, transformation control. Let's start with the basics. How exactly does your transformation work? Aaron held up his hand. I need a clear goal in mind, and I have to injure myself, usually by biting my hand. The transformation is triggered by pain and blood, combined with a specific intention. And staying in control once you've transformed? That's harder, Aaron admitted. Sometimes I lose myself in the Titan's instincts, the rage, the desire to destroy. Other times, I maintain perfect awareness. Ben nodded thoughtfully. Sounds like the key is your mental state during the transformation. When I transform, I'm still me, just in a different body with different abilities. But I have to work with each alien's instincts, not against them. How? Aaron asked. It's like. Ben thought for a moment. Imagine you're in a river with a strong current. You can try to swim directly against it, which is exhausting and might not work. Or you can swim with it, but steer yourself toward your destination. Eren frowned. So I shouldn't fight the Titan's rage? Not exactly. Accept it, acknowledge it, but direct it toward your goals instead of letting it control you. Ben walked to the center of the clearing. Let's try something. Transform with a specific, detailed goal in mind, not just fight or protect, but something precise. Eren considered this. Like what? Like, build a stack of those logs over there, in a specific pattern, Ben suggested, pointing to a pile of firewood nearby. That seems trivial, Mikasa objected from the edge of the clearing. It's not about the task, Ben explained. It's about maintaining precise control while transformed. Fighting is actually harder because it feeds into the Titan's aggressive instincts. Eren nodded slowly. I understand. I'll try it. He took a deep breath, focusing his mind on the task Ben had suggested. Then he bit down hard on his hand, drawing blood. Green lightning flashed, and with a thunderous explosion, Eren's Titan form emerged, 15 meters tall, muscular, with long hair and glowing green eyes. For a moment, the Titan stood motionless. Then, with careful movements, it walked to the woodpile and began stacking logs in a deliberate pattern. The movements were clumsy at first, the massive hands not designed for delicate tasks, but gradually became more precise. He's doing it, Mikasa said quietly, a hint of surprise in her voice. Ben watched with satisfaction. He's channeling the Titan's energy into focused action instead of fighting it or surrendering to it. After successfully stacking the logs into a neat pyramid, Eren's Titan stood waiting, its green eyes alert and aware. Now for something harder, Ben called up to him. Spell out your name with the logs. The Titan tilted its head, considering the challenge. It carefully disassembled the pyramid and began arranging the logs to form letters. The concentration was visible on its face, so human an expression on such a monstrous form. The key is continuous, deliberate action, Ben explained to Mikasa. Keeping the human mind engaged with specific tasks prevents the Titan's instincts from taking over. When Eren finished spelling his name, Ben transformed into Swampfire. Now we practice communication and coordination. For the next hour, Ben and Eren engaged in increasingly complex cooperative exercises, moving objects together, responding to verbal commands, even a simplified game of Simon Says. Mikasa watched in amazement as Eren maintained control of his Titan form longer than she'd ever seen, with more precise movements and clearer awareness. Finally, Eren emerged from his Titan form, exhausted but exhilarated. The partially decomposed Titan body steamed behind him as he collapsed onto the grass. That was. He panted, different. I felt connected to the Titan, not fighting against it. Exactly, Ben said, reverting to human form. It's about partnership with your other form, not domination or submission. I was aware the entire time, Eren continued, wonder in his voice. No blackouts, no lost time. I remember everything. Mikasa knelt beside him, concern mixing with pride on her face. You did well. We'll practice more tomorrow, Ben promised. Different scenarios, more complex tasks. The goal is to make this level of control your new normal. As they walked back to the barracks, Eren turned to Ben. Thank you. I've been trying to master this for months, and in one session with you, I've made more progress than ever before. Ben smiled. Different perspective, that's all. Sometimes it takes an outsider to see what's right in front of you. They parted ways at the barracks entrance, Eren and Mikasa heading to their separate quarters while Ben returned to his assigned bunk. Despite his exhaustion, Ben's mind was racing with plans for helping Eren further and figuring out Vex's endgame. Interesting training session, a voice said from the shadows. Ben turned to see Levi leaning against the wall, arms crossed. Were you watching us? I make it my business to know what happens in my regiment, Levi replied. Especially when it involves our most valuable asset. Aaron's not an asset, Ben frowned. He's a person struggling with abilities he never asked for. A luxury perspective from someone who can turn his powers on and off at will, Levi countered. Aaron doesn't have that option. His power makes him both our greatest hope and our biggest potential threat. Ben stepped closer to Levi. Is that why everyone watches him like he might explode? Because you're afraid of him? We're cautious, Levi corrected. With good reason. You haven't seen what an out-of-control Titan can do. Maybe he loses control because everyone expects him to, Ben suggested. Ever think of that? Trust is a two-way street, Captain. Levi studied Ben for a long moment. You've known him for what, 3 days? I've seen him tear through Titans like paper, and I've seen him nearly kill his childhood friend while lost in Titan rage. And I've seen transformations go wrong too, Ben insisted. But treating someone like a ticking time bomb just makes it more likely they'll explode. To Ben's surprise, Levi's expression softened slightly. Perhaps. Your methods tonight showed promise. Continue training him, but if there's any sign of lost control, I'll step in immediately. Fair enough, Ben agreed. There's a strategy meeting at dawn, Levi added. Commander Erwin wants your input on potential countermeasures against Vex's technology. With that, Levi turned and walked away, leaving Ben to wonder if he'd just made progress or if the captain was simply humoring him. The next morning came too quickly. Ben dragged himself to the command room where Erwin, Hang, Levi, and several other officers were already gathered around maps and diagrams. Ah, Ben. Hang greeted enthusiastically, waving him over to a table covered with disassembled control devices. I've been analyzing these all night. Fascinating technology. The integration with Titan biology is unlike anything I've ever seen. Did you figure out how they work? Ben asked, suppressing a yawn. The basics, yes, Hang adjusted her glasses. They emit a specific frequency that somehow interfaces with Titan nervous systems, or what passes for nervous systems in Titans. But the enhanced versions also inject something into the Titans, triggering accelerated growth and metallic integration. Ben picked up one of the components. This looks like a miniature version of Vex dimensional tech. He's adapting his equipment to work with the Titans. Can you build something to block or disrupt the signal? Erwin asked. Ben considered this. Maybe, with the right materials. But Vex will just change frequencies or find another method. We need to think bigger. Meaning? Levi prompted. Meaning we need to understand what he's after, Ben explained. Vex doesn't do anything without a purpose. Those Titans were gathering materials for something specific. Armin cleared his throat. I've been mapping all reported sightings of controlled Titans. They're forming a perimeter around this area. He indicated a section of the map within Fallen Wall Maria territory. That's close to Shiganshina, Aaron noted, entering the room with Mikasa. But not quite, Armin corrected. It's about 10 kilometers north. There's nothing special there according to our maps, just forests and abandoned farmland. Unless there's something that wouldn't be on your maps, Ben suggested. Something underground, maybe. The room fell silent as everyone considered this possibility. What about those materials the Titans were gathering? Ben continued. Any pattern there? Hang nodded eagerly. Yes. They were collecting metals with specific properties, iron, copper, materials that conduct electricity. And certain types of stones that might have mineral content useful for technical applications. He's building something, Ben concluded. Something big, requiring resources he can't produce himself. A weapon? Levi suggested. Or a way home, Ben countered. Vex's dimensional transporter was damaged when we arrived here. He might be trying to rebuild it. Either possibility is concerning, Erwin stated. If he succeeds in returning to your dimension, he could bring back more advanced technology to use against us. If he's building a weapon, the threat is more immediate. We need more information, Heng said. Direct observation of his activities. A reconnaissance mission, Irwin agreed. Small, fast, focused on intelligence gathering rather than engagement. I should go, Ben said immediately. I know Vex, I understand his technology. Agreed, Irwin nodded. Along with a small support team. Levi, select your 4 best soldiers for this mission. Levi considered for a moment. Ackerman, Arlert, and Blouse for their observation skills. And Aaron. Aaron? Several voices questioned simultaneously. His Titan form provides emergency extraction capability if needed, Levi explained. And based on last night's training, his control is improving. Ben caught Aaron's surprised expression. This was the first time Levi had openly acknowledged his progress. It's settled then, Irwin declared. You'll leave at dusk, travel under cover of darkness. The mission objective is observation only, locate Vex operation, determine what he's building, and return with the intelligence. No engagement unless absolutely necessary for survival. As the meeting disbanded, Aaron approached Ben. What Levi said about my control improving, that's because of your training method, isn't it? It's because of your hard work, Ben corrected. I just offered a different perspective. We should train more before the mission, Aaron suggested. If I need to transform out there, I can't afford any mistakes. Ben agreed, and they spent the afternoon in intensive training. Ben transformed into various aliens to help Aaron practice coordinating with different allies, adapting to changing situations, and maintaining control under stress. Mikasa and Armin joined later, integrating ODM tactics with Aaron's Titan abilities and Ben's transformations. By evening, they were exhausted but better prepared. As they geared up for the mission, Ben noticed Aaron seemed calmer, more focused than before. Nervous? Ben asked as they checked their equipment. Always, Aaron admitted. But different this time. Less afraid of losing control, more concerned about the mission itself. That's progress, Ben smiled. Trust yourself a little more. Trust the Titan too. Aaron nodded thoughtfully. It's strange. For years, I've seen the Titan as something separate from me, a power I use but don't fully understand. But after our training, I'm starting to feel like it's just another part of me, like an arm or a leg. That's exactly right, Ben agreed. The sooner you accept it as part of yourself, the easier control becomes. Their conversation was interrupted as Levi approached. Time to move out. Remember, this is reconnaissance only. We observe, we document, we return. No heroics from either of you. The small team mounted horses and departed through the southern gate of Wall Rose. As darkness fell, they rode in silence through abandoned territories that had once been human settlements. Ben found the landscape eerie, empty houses with doors still open, personal belongings scattered as if residents had fled in panic. This was the reality of the Titan threat, not just deaths, but displacement, loss of homeland. They traveled for hours under moonlight, stopping occasionally to rest the horses. According to Armin's calculations, they should reach the perimeter of Vex activity by dawn. We'll establish an observation post here, Levi decided as they reached a forested hill overlooking a valley. Good visibility, multiple escape routes, natural cover. They secured the horses and set up a small camp hidden within the trees. Ben transformed into Wildmutt to scout the area, using his enhanced senses to detect any nearby Titans or human activity. Finding none, he returned to the group. Clear for now, he reported after reverting to human form. But I picked up some strange sense about 2 kilometers east, metallic, electrical. Not natural. That must be Vex operation, Armin concluded, marking it on his map. We should rest in shifts, then begin observation at first light. Ben took the first watch with Sasha Blouse, a scout regiment soldier with exceptional instincts and hearing. They sat in silence at the edge of camp, scanning the darkness. So you're really from another world? Sasha whispered eventually. Another dimension, yeah, Ben confirmed. What's it like there? Do you have titans too? No titans, Ben said. But we have other threats, aliens, interdimensional invaders, supervillains. I've been fighting them since I was 10. Sasha's eyes widened. 10 years old. That's so young. Ben shrugged. Didn't really have a choice. Found the Omnitrix, and suddenly I was responsible for it. Kind of like Eren with his Titan powers, I guess. Except you can take yours off, Sasha pointed out. Not really, Ben smiled wryly, tapping the Omnitrix. It's bonded to my DNA. Removing it would kill me. Trust me, people have tried. Sasha considered this. So you're stuck with it too? Yeah, but I don't see it that way anymore. It's part of me now, for better or worse. Their conversation trailed off as they continued their watch. When their shift ended, Ben woke Eren and Mikasa to take over, then found a spot to sleep for a few hours. Dawn came with a gray mist covering the valley. The team gathered at the observation point, using Scout Regiment telescopes to scan the area where Ben had detected unusual scents. There, Armin whispered, adjusting his telescope. Movement in that clearing. Ben transformed into Stinkfly for an aerial view. Flying high above the mist, he could see clearly what was happening below. In a large clearing, 5 enhanced titans worked methodically, assembling what looked like a massive technological structure. At the center stood a familiar figure, Commander Vex, his skull-like face unmistakable even from this height. Stinkfly returned to the observation post. It's definitely Vex, he confirmed after transforming back. He's overseeing construction of some kind of device, looks like a larger version of his dimensional transporter. A way back to your world? Armin asked. Maybe, Ben frowned. But something's not right. The configuration is different, more like a receiver than a transmitter. Meaning? Levi prompted. Meaning he's not trying to go somewhere, Ben explained grimly. He's trying to bring something here. The implications settled heavily on the group. Vex with his enhanced titans was dangerous enough. Whatever he planned to bring through that portal could be catastrophic. We need to get closer, Eren suggested. Get a better look at that device. Levi considered this. Ackerman and I will advance using ODM gear through the tree line. The rest of you maintain position here. I should go too, Ben insisted. I understand Vex technology. After a moment's hesitation, Levi nodded. Transform into something inconspicuous. Ben cycled through the Omnitrix and selected Big Chill. The moth-like alien could turn intangible and invisible, perfect for reconnaissance. Big Chill, Levi, and Mikasa moved silently toward Vex's operation. Using the trees for cover, Levi and Mikasa swung from branch to branch on their ODM gear while Big Chill flew invisibly above them. They stopped at the edge of the clearing, observing from concealment. The device under construction was massive, a ring-like structure 30 meters in diameter, with complex machinery surrounding it. The enhanced titans worked with disturbing precision, following Vex's instructions as he moved around the site with a data pad in his hands. Almost complete, they heard Vex say to himself. Just need the final component. Big Chill turned intangible and drifted closer, hovering directly above Vex to see the data pad. The screen showed schematics for the device, along with what appeared to be coordinates, dimensional coordinates. He's targeting a specific dimension, Big Chill whispered to himself. Suddenly, Vex looked up as if sensing something. His eyes narrowed as he activated a device on his wrist. A pulse of energy erupted outward, and Big Chill felt his invisibility falter. I know you're there, Tennyson, Vex called. My sensors detected Omnitrix energy the moment you arrived. Caught, Big Chill materialized, hovering above Vex. Game's up, Vex. What are you bringing through that portal? Vex smiled, his skull-like face twisting unnervingly. Not what, who? Someone very interested in this world's unique abilities, particularly the power to transform into giants. Why? Big Chill demanded. What do you gain from this? Partnership, Vex replied simply. My new associate has resources I need, technology beyond even my reach. And all they want in return is access to this world's special individuals. Big Chill's eyes widened as understanding dawned. You're planning to sell Eren and the other Titan shifters to someone in another dimension. Sell is such an ugly word, Vex chided. I prefer facilitate scientific exchange. Below, Levi signaled for retreat. They had the information they needed. Big Chill backed away slowly, maintaining eye contact with Vex. You won't succeed, he promised. I already have, Vex countered. The portal activates tonight. And thanks for confirming that you're working with the Titan shifters. Saves me the trouble of finding them. With that, Vex pressed a button on his wrist device. The enhanced Titans suddenly stopped working and turned toward the trees where Levi and Mikasa were concealed. Eliminate the intruders, Vex commanded. Big Chill swooped down. Run. Get back to camp. Levi and Mikasa launched into action, their ODM gear propelling them through the trees with the enhanced Titans in pursuit. Big Chill flew between the Titans, breathing his freezing breath to slow them down, but the metal augmentations protected them from the worst effects of the cold. We need backup. Mikasa called as a Titan's hand nearly caught her mid-swing. Big Chill flew ahead, racing back to the observation post. Vex spotted us. Enhanced Titans in pursuit. Eren, we need you. Eren didn't hesitate. With a determined expression, he bit his hand, triggering the transformation. Green lightning flashed, and his Titan form erupted with a roar that echoed through the valley. Remember your training, Ben called after reverting to human form. Focus, control, purpose. Eren's Titan nodded, then charged toward the approaching enhanced Titans, intercepting the first one with a powerful tackle that shook the ground. Armin and Sasha deployed with ODM gear to support Levi and Mikasa, while Ben transformed again, this time into Feedback. Time to short out those control devices, Feedback declared, running toward the battle. The fight was chaotic but coordinated. Eren grappled with two enhanced Titans, holding them in place while Scout Regiment soldiers maneuvered around them. Feedback jumped onto the back of one, plugging his fingers into its metal components and draining the electrical energy from its control device. One by one, they disabled the enhanced Titans, removing Vex's control. But as the last Titan fell, they realized Vex himself had escaped in the confusion. The portal, Ben said urgently after reverting to human form. We have to destroy it before he activates it. They raced toward the clearing where the device stood, now unguarded. Eren's Titan carried those without ODM gear, moving with purposeful strides through the forest. When they arrived, they found the portal already powering up, its center beginning to shimmer with energy. Vex stood at a control panel, entering final calculations. Stop him. Levi ordered. The team sprang into action. Levi and Mikasa shot forward on their ODM gear, aiming for Vex, while Eren's Titan charged toward the portal itself. Ben transformed into Diamond Head, intending to destroy the control panel. Vex was ready for them. He pressed a final button, and the portal flared to life, a swirling vortex of energy that pulsed with unnatural light. From its depths, something began to emerge, a massive, shadowy form. You're too late, Vex laughed. My partner has arrived. Levi reached Vex first, blades flashing, but Vex activated a personal force field that deflected the attack. Mikasa circled around, looking for an opening, while Diamond Head fired crystal shards at the portal's power supply. Eren's Titan grabbed one of the support structures and pulled, muscles straining as metal groaned and bent. The portal flickered but remained active as the shadowy form continued to materialize. We need to overload it. Diamond Head shouted, reverting to Ben and immediately selecting a new form. Feedback. Once again in his electrical alien form, Feedback ran to the portal's main power conduits and began absorbing energy, channeling it back into the system in an uncontrolled surge. The machinery sparked and smoked as power levels exceeded safety limits. No! Vex cried, abandoning his battle with Levi to race toward the controls. Aaron's Titan seized the opportunity, grabbing Vex in one massive hand. Vex struggled, but couldn't break free from the Titan's grip. "Let go of me, you primitive monster," he snarled. The portal was destabilizing, the shadowy form half emerged but unable to fully cross over. With a sound like thunder, the portal collapsed in on itself, energy discharging in a blinding flash that threw everyone backward. When the light faded, the portal was destroyed, a smoking ruin of twisted metal and shattered components. The shadowy form was gone, pulled back to its own dimension by the collapsing portal. Feedback reverted to Ben, who fell to his knees, exhausted from absorbing so much energy. Aaron's Titan gently set Vex down, then pinned him with one massive hand while Levi approached with blades drawn. "It's over, Vex," Ben said, struggling to his feet. "Your portal's destroyed, your enhanced Titans are neutralized, and your mysterious partner is back where they came from." Vex glared at him with hatred. "You have no idea what you've done, Tennyson. My partner offered me technological wonders beyond imagination. All they wanted were a few test subjects with Titan abilities." "Who was your partner?" Levi demanded, pressing a blade to Vex's throat. Vex smiled thinly. "Someone very interested in evolution and genetic potential. Someone who recognizes the value of abilities like Titan transformation. They'll find another way here eventually." "Not if we destroy all knowledge of this world's location," Ben countered. "Which starts with wiping your database." Vex laughed. "Good luck with that. My data is encrypted and stored across multiple devices, some of which aren't even in this dimension anymore." Before anyone could react, Vex pressed a hidden button on his gauntlet. His body began to glow with energy. "Emergency recall," he explained with a smirk. "A failsafe in case things went wrong. Goodbye, Tennyson. I'll be seeing you again." "No." Ben lunged forward, but it was too late. Vex vanished in a flash of light, leaving only his gauntlet behind. Silence fell over the clearing as they processed what had happened. "He escaped," Mikasa stated flatly. "Back to his own dimension, most likely," Ben said, picking up the abandoned gauntlet. The recall function was probably pre-programmed to send him to a specific location. Aaron emerged from his dissolving Titan form, looking exhausted but clear-eyed. "Did we succeed or fail?" "The portal's destroyed, but Vex escaped." "Both," Levi decided. "We prevented whatever was coming through that portal from arriving, but we lost Vex." Ben examined the gauntlet carefully. "Maybe not completely. This contains part of his database. With Hank's help, I might be able to access it, figure out who his partner was and what they wanted with Titan abilities." Armin approached, looking troubled. "Could they have been after the coordinate?" "That word again." Ben felt the Omnitrix warm slightly on his wrist. "What exactly is the coordinate?" "Everyone gets weird whenever it's mentioned." The scout regiment members exchanged glances, silently debating how much to reveal. Finally, Levi spoke. "It's a power. A special ability connected to Titan control. That's all you need to know for now." Ben wasn't satisfied with that answer, but he could tell he wouldn't get more right now. "Let's gather what we can from this site and head back. Commander Erwin needs to know what happened." As they collected components from the destroyed portal and secured the area, Ben noticed Aaron staring at his hands thoughtfully. "You maintained perfect control the entire time," Ben noted, joining him. "Even during intense combat?" Aaron nodded. "It felt natural. Like the Titan responded to my intentions without resistance." "Because you weren't fighting it," Ben explained. "You were working with it." "Thank you," Aaron said sincerely. "For showing me that." "Just returning the favor," Ben replied. Your world has helped me too. I've never had to think about my transformations quite like this before. They worked together to gather useful technology from the ruins of Vex operation. By midday, they were ready to return to Wall Rose with their findings and report. As they rode back, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that they had only delayed a greater threat, not eliminated it. Vex would return eventually, possibly with his mysterious partner. And whatever they wanted with Titan abilities, it couldn't be good. But for now, they had won a battle. The portal was destroyed, the enhanced Titans neutralized, and they had valuable intelligence about Vex operations. Most importantly, Eren had made significant progress in controlling his Titan form, progress that could be crucial in the battles to come. Wall Rose appeared on the horizon as evening approached. Ben found himself thinking of it as a return home, even though his real home lay in another dimension entirely. Somehow, in just a few days, he had found a place among these people, these warriors fighting desperate odds against monstrous threats. Perhaps that was why the Omnitrix had brought him here. Not just a random accident, but a purpose. A connection between worlds that needed each other's strengths to survive. Whatever came next, Ben was no longer just focused on getting home. He was committed to helping this world face its threats, both the ones they knew, and the new ones Vex might bring from beyond the walls of their universe. Chapter 3, The Titan and the Watch. 2 weeks had passed since they destroyed Vex's portal. Ben leaned against the parapet of Wall Rose, watching the sunset paint the abandoned lands beyond the wall in gold and crimson. Sometimes it was easy to forget those peaceful-looking fields and forests crawled with man-eating giants. Thinking about home? Armin asked, joining him at the wall. Sometimes, Ben admitted. But honestly, I've been too busy to get homesick. Between training with the Scout Regiment, helping Eren master his Titan abilities, and working with Hang to analyze Vex technology, Ben barely had time to sleep, let alone dwell on Bellwood. Any progress with the gauntlet? Armin asked. Ben shook his head. Vex encryption is beyond anything I've seen. Without Gwen's magic or Kevin's tech knowledge, I'm stuck. And the Omnitrix? Any luck using it to track dimensional energy? Not yet, Ben said, looking down at the watch. Though it's been acting weird lately. Weird how? Ben hesitated. The truth was, the Omnitrix had been doing more than just acting weird. It had been pulsing with energy whenever Eren transformed nearby, displaying alien silhouettes Ben didn't recognize, and occasionally shocking him with static electricity. But he wasn't ready to share all that yet, not until he understood what was happening. Just glitching sometimes. Probably from dimensional interference. A bell rang in the distance, signaling dinner. As they turned to leave, Ben noticed the Omnitrix's faceplate glowing slightly, something it had started doing whenever he thought about Titans or the mysterious coordinate nobody would explain. You coming? Armin called. Yeah, Ben said, pulling his sleeve over the watch. Right behind you. Dinner in the mess hall was lively tonight. The Scout Regiment had returned from a successful mission beyond the walls, reclaiming a small outpost without casualties. The mood was celebratory, a rare thing in their world of constant loss. Ben sat with Eren, Mikasa, and Armin, picking at his stew. After 2 weeks, he still hadn't adjusted to the bland food. You guys seriously don't have chili fries here, he complained. Or smoothies. Eren looked confused. Smoothies? Blended fruit drinks. Cold, sweet, perfect after a hot day of hero work. Sounds wasteful, Mikasa commented. Using food for pleasure rather than sustenance. Oh man, you guys are missing out, Ben laughed. When all this is over, I'm introducing this world to proper fast food. When all this is over, Eren repeated quietly. You mean when you go home? The table fell silent. They hadn't discussed it much, the fact that Ben was actively working on a way back to his dimension. I mean when we stop Vex and deal with your Titan problem, Ben clarified. One crisis at a time. Before anyone could respond, Hang burst into the mess hall, eyes wild with excitement. She spotted Ben and rushed over, slamming her hands on the table. Ben! I found something. In the gauntlet data. The entire hall went quiet, everyone turning to stare at the commotion. Maybe we should discuss this somewhere private? Ben suggested. No time. Hang declared. The encryption had a timed lockout, we have access to the files for exactly 17 minutes before it reseals itself. Ben jumped up. Let's go then. They raced to Hang's lab, where Vex's gauntlet lay connected to a crude interface Hang had built from salvaged parts. The screen showed streams of data in a language Ben didn't recognize. What am I looking at? He asked. Dimensional coordinates, Hang explained breathlessly. And Titan research data. Vex was studying the connection between Titan biology and interdimensional energy. Why would he care about that? Because, Hang said, pointing to a diagram, Titan abilities operate on principles similar to your Omnitrix transformations. Ben leaned closer, studying the technical schematics. Although he couldn't read the language, the diagrams looked familiar, cellular transformation patterns, energy signatures that resembled the Omnitrix's operation. That's impossible, he muttered. The Omnitrix was created by Azimuth, the smartest being in 5 galaxies. Titans are, what, some kind of natural evolution in your world? Hang adjusted her glasses, a manic gleam in her eye. I don't think they're natural at all. Based on this data, Titans were created, just like your Omnitrix. Different methods, same scientific principles. The implications hit Ben like a punch from 4 arms. So you're saying whoever created Titans in your world might have had knowledge similar to your Azimuth, Hang finished. Or the technologies evolved along parallel paths in different dimensions. Ben's mind raced. If Titan transformation and the Omnitrix operated on similar principles, that could explain why the device had been behaving strangely since he arrived. Maybe it was recognizing compatible technology. There's more, Hang continued, scrolling through data. Vex was specifically interested in something called the coordinate. His notes indicate it's a central control mechanism for Titan abilities. Like a master switch? Ben asked. More like a broadcast hub. The coordinate can apparently transmit commands to all Titans simultaneously. Vex was trying to replicate that function with his control devices, but on a much smaller scale. The Omnitrix suddenly pulsed on Ben's wrist, its faceplate glowing green, then yellow, then back to green. Ben felt a tingling sensation running up his arm. That's been happening a lot lately, he admitted, showing Hang. Especially when Titans or the coordinate are mentioned. Hang looked fascinated. May I? Ben held out his arm, and Hang examined the Omnitrix carefully, noting how its glow intensified when she touched it with a piece of crystal recovered from Vex's portal. Resonance, she whispered. It's responding to dimensional energy. Suddenly, the gauntlet screen flickered, and the data disappeared. No! Hang cried. The encryption locked again. 17 minutes exactly. Ben stared at the blank screen, then down at the still glowing Omnitrix. Maybe we don't need Vex data. Maybe the answer is right here. What do you mean? The Omnitrix adapts. It evolves based on user needs and environmental factors. If it's detecting Titan transformation energy as compatible technology, it might be able to interface with it, Hang finished, eyes widening. Or even incorporate it. Ben nodded slowly. But I'd need a direct connection to Titan transformation energy. More direct than just being near Eren when he transforms. Hang practically vibrated with excitement. We need to run experiments. Controlled tests of the Omnitrix's reaction to Titan biology. Whoa, slow down, Ben cautioned. We should talk to Erwin first. This could be dangerous. What could be dangerous? Eren asked from the doorway, with Mikasa and Armin behind him. Ben and Hang exchanged looks. How much did you hear? Ben asked. Enough to know you're planning something involving Titans and your watch, Mikasa said suspiciously. Ben sighed. We found data suggesting the Omnitrix and Titan transformation abilities might operate on similar principles. The Omnitrix has been reacting to Titan energy, especially around Eren. You think your watch is, what? Learning from my Titan abilities? Eren asked incredulously. Maybe, Ben admitted. It wouldn't be the first time the Omnitrix has absorbed new DNA or adapted to new environments. Armin stepped forward, his analytical mind already working. If the Omnitrix can interface with Titan biology, it might help us understand how Titan powers work. It could even lead to better control methods. Or it could be exactly what Vex was trying to achieve, Mikasa countered. A way to harness and weaponize Titan abilities. An uncomfortable silence fell as they considered this possibility. We should inform Captain Erwin, Armin decided. This is too important to keep secret. The command room was tense as Ben and Hang explained their findings to Erwin, Levi, and the senior scout regiment officers. When they finished, Erwin leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled in thought. Let me be clear, he said finally. You believe the Omnitrix could potentially interface with Titan transformation energy, possibly granting you Titan-like abilities? It's a theory, Ben clarified. Based on the data from Vex Gauntlet and the Omnitrix's recent behavior. And what would such an interface require? Ben looked at Hang, who adjusted her glasses nervously. Direct contact between the Omnitrix and active Titan transformation energy. Specifically, during the moment of transformation. You want to touch the Omnitrix to Eren while he's transforming, Levi stated flatly. Have you considered the risks? To both of them? The risks are significant, Hang admitted. Dimensional energy interference, potential damage to the Omnitrix, unknown effects on Eren's Titan form. But the potential benefits are greater, Ben interjected. If the Omnitrix can adapt to Titan biology, it might help us understand how Titans work, how to control them better. Maybe even how to counter Vex's technology. Erwin turned to Eren, who had remained silent. This directly involves you, Eren. What are your thoughts? Eren's green eyes met Ben's. I trust Ben, he said simply. He's helped me control my Titan form better than anyone. If he thinks this could work, I'm willing to try. This isn't just about trust, Mikasa objected. This is about unknown technology interacting with Eren's body. The Omnitrix is designed to adapt safely, Ben assured her. It has built-in safeguards against dangerous genetic combinations. In your world, Levi pointed out. This isn't your world. Erwin considered all sides before speaking again. The decision is complex. On one hand, any advance in our understanding of Titan powers could be crucial in our fight. On the other, risking both Eren's abilities and the Omnitrix on an untested theory is strategically questionable. What if we start small? Armin suggested. A minimal contact experiment with strict safety protocols. Hang nodded enthusiastically. We could use a controlled environment, minimal transformation energy, emergency response team standing by. Erwin looked to Levi, who shrugged slightly, his version of reluctant agreement. Very well, Erwin decided. A single, controlled experiment. With extensive preparations and safety measures. If there's any sign of danger, it stops immediately. Thank you, Commander, Ben said sincerely. Don't thank me yet, Erwin replied. If this goes wrong, we could lose two of our most valuable assets against the Titans. It won't go wrong, Ben promised, though he wasn't as confident as he sounded. The Omnitrix had a history of unexpected reactions, and Titan biology was still largely a mystery even to the scout regiment. The experiment will take place tomorrow at dawn, Erwin declared. Tonight, you will all rest. That's an order. As they left the command room, Eren fell into step beside Ben. Are you sure about this? No, Ben admitted quietly. But the Omnitrix is trying to tell us something. I can feel it. Aaron nodded. I feel the same way about my Titan abilities sometimes. Like there's more to them than I understand, trying to break through. Exactly. Ben said, relieved someone understood. The Omnitrix isn't just a tool. It's almost like it has a mind of its own sometimes. That's how the Titan feels too, Aaron confessed. Not mindless at all. Purposeful. They walked in contemplative silence for a moment before Ben spoke again. Whatever happens tomorrow, thanks for trusting me. You earned it, Aaron replied simply. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Ben lay awake, staring at the wooden beams above his bunk, watching the Omnitrix pulse with soft green light. The device had never reacted this way before, not to any alien, technology, or dimension he'd encountered. Why this world? Why Titans? The connection nagged at him, like a word on the tip of his tongue. There was something fundamental he was missing, something that linked the Omnitrix's transformation technology with the Titan's abilities. Eventually, Ben gave up on sleep and slipped outside. The night air was cool, the stars brilliantly clear above Wall Rose. He wandered to the training yard, intending to clear his head with some exercise, but found someone already there. Levi stood in the center of the yard, moving through ODM gear maneuvers without the actual equipment, a training exercise in muscle memory and balance. He executed each move with perfect precision, his concentration absolute. Ben started to back away, not wanting to interrupt, but Levi spoke without turning. Couldn't sleep, Tennyson. Too much on my mind, Ben admitted, stepping forward. I rarely sleep more than a few hours. Levi completed a final maneuver before facing Ben. Having second thoughts about tomorrow? Not second thoughts. Just, questions. Levi gestured to a bench at the edge of the yard. They sat in silence for a moment before Levi spoke again. This experiment. What do you really expect from it? Ben considered his answer carefully. Honestly? I don't know. The Omnitrix is unpredictable sometimes. But I think it's trying to adapt to this world, to help somehow. And if it adapts in ways you don't expect? Wouldn't be the first time, Ben smiled wryly. When I was 10, it turned me into aliens I couldn't control. I've been trapped in transformations, had multiple personalities, even had my DNA rewritten. Levi's expression remained neutral. Yet you continue to use it. It's part of me now, Ben shrugged. The good and the bad. Like Aaron and his Titan. Exactly. Levi studied him with those penetrating gray eyes. Erwin trusts you. Aaron trusts you. I'm not so easily convinced. Fair enough, Ben acknowledged. I haven't exactly been here long. It's not about time, Levi clarified. It's about understanding what's at stake. This isn't just about getting you home or stopping one villain. We're fighting for humanity's survival against an enemy we barely understand. I get that, Ben insisted. I've fought for my world's survival too. Then you understand why I can't afford to trust blindly, Levi stood. Tomorrow, I'll be watching. If anything goes wrong, if Aaron loses control or your device does something unexpected, I will intervene immediately. I wouldn't expect anything less, Ben replied honestly. Levi nodded once, then walked away, leaving Ben alone with his thoughts and the pulsing Omnitrix. Dawn broke with a clear sky and still air, perfect conditions for the experiment, according to Hang. The location they'd chosen was an abandoned quarry 5 kilometers from Wall Rose, far enough for safety, close enough for quick retreat if necessary. Ben stood in the center of the quarry with Aaron, while the others maintained a safe distance. Hang had set up monitoring equipment borrowed from the garrison's research division, while Levi and his squad stood ready with ODM gear in case of emergency. Mikasa looked tense, her hand never far from her blade handles. Are we ready? Erwin called from his observation position. Hang gave an enthusiastic thumbs up. Monitoring systems active. Safety perimeter established. We're ready to make history. Just try not to make it the kind of history where everything explodes, Ben muttered to himself. Aaron smiled nervously at that. Any last-minute advice? Focus on a clean, controlled transformation, Ben said. Nothing fancy. Just like we've practiced. Aaron nodded, then turned to Erwin for final confirmation. Proceed, the commander ordered. Taking a deep breath, Aaron raised his hand to his mouth. Ben positioned the Omnitrix nearby, ready to make contact at the moment of transformation. The device was already glowing brighter, sensing what was about to happen. Ready? Aaron asked. Ready, Ben confirmed. Aaron bit down hard on his hand, drawing blood. The familiar spark of green energy began, and Ben pressed the Omnitrix against Aaron's arm. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Green lightning connected with green Omnitrix energy, creating a swirling vortex around both of them. Ben felt the Omnitrix heating up, pulsing with power unlike anything he'd experienced before. Through the chaotic energy, Ben saw Aaron's Titan form materializing, but something was different. Streams of green circuit-like patterns spread across the Titan's body, reminiscent of the Omnitrix's energy. The transformation is being effected. Hang shouted from somewhere outside the energy vortex. Unprecedented energy readings. Ben could barely hear her over the sound of the Omnitrix, which was making a high-pitched whining noise. The faceplate spun rapidly, cycling through alien silhouettes too fast to distinguish, before stopping on an entirely new silhouette, humanoid but massive, with features that resembled a Titan. What's happening to the Omnitrix? Ben called out, but his voice was lost in the roar of energy. The vortex intensified, lifting Ben off his feet as the Omnitrix seemed to pull him toward Aaron's transforming body. For a terrifying moment, Ben thought he might be absorbed into the Titan itself. Then, abruptly, the energy expelled him. Ben flew backward, landing hard several meters away as Aaron's transformation completed. The Omnitrix sparked and hissed on his wrist, its faceplate shifting between green and red before settling back to its normal state. Ben! Armin called, running to help him up. Are you alright? I think so, Ben groaned, checking the Omnitrix. It appeared normal again, though the faceplate displayed that new, Titan-like silhouette among his available transformations. Did it work? They turned to look at Aaron's Titan form, which stood motionless in the center of the quarry. The green circuit patterns were fading, but the Titan itself looked different, more proportional, with defined muscles and features that resembled Aaron more closely than usual. Aaron? Mikasa called cautiously. The Titan's eyes focused, recognition evident in them. It nodded once, then raised a hand in a very human gesture of reassurance. Enhanced control, Hang whispered in awe, approaching cautiously. The integration of Omnitrix energy seems to have stabilized his Titan form. Ben stood slowly, still feeling aftershocks from the energy surge. Aaron? Can you hear me? The Titan knelt, bringing its face closer to Ben's level, and nodded again. Try to speak, Ben suggested. Aaron's Titan form had never been able to communicate verbally before. Its mouth opened, and a strained rumbling emerged, not quite words but definitely an attempt at speech. Remarkable, Erwin murmured, joining them. His cognitive functions appear enhanced. The Omnitrix did something, Ben explained, showing them the new silhouette. It added a new transformation to my roster. Something Titan-based. Hang nearly knocked Ben over in her excitement to examine the Omnitrix. A Titan transformation? You mean you could potentially transform into a Titan form? I think so, Ben said cautiously. Though I've learned to be careful with new transformations until I understand them. Aaron's Titan began to steam, the form dissolving as he emerged from the nape. He looked exhausted but alert, his eyes wide with wonder. That was different, he gasped as Mikasa helped him down. I could feel everything, control everything. No resistance, no rage fighting me. Just, clarity. The Omnitrix energy must have temporarily enhanced your connection to the Titan form, Armin theorized. Stabilized it somehow. Levi approached, inspecting both Aaron and Ben with critical eyes. Neither of you are dead or out of control. I suppose that's a success. More than a success. Hang exclaimed. This could revolutionize our understanding of Titan abilities. And Ben has a new transformation. Which I'm not using until we understand it better, Ben insisted. The last thing we need is me turning into some kind of unpredictable Titan form in the middle of Walrose. Erwin nodded approvingly. A wise decision. We'll conduct further analysis in a controlled environment. As they gathered their equipment and prepared to return to Walrose, Ben noticed the Omnitrix continuing to pulse softly, as if processing new information. The connection had been established, the Omnitrix had recognized Titan biology as compatible technology and adapted to it. But what exactly that meant for him, for Aaron, and for their fight against both Titans and Vex remained to be seen. Back at Scout Regiment headquarters, Hank's lab became the center of intense activity. Aaron underwent medical evaluations while Ben allowed Hank to run diagnostics on the Omnitrix, as much as the alien device would permit, anyway. The energy signatures are stabilizing, Heng reported, examining readings from instruments pointed at the Omnitrix. Whatever exchange occurred between Aaron's Titan energy and the Omnitrix seems to have reached equilibrium. But what exactly did it do? Ben asked, watching the new alien silhouette appear whenever he activated the transformation selector. Based on Aaron's experience and our readings, it appears the Omnitrix recognized Titan transformation energy as a genetic template, similar to how it catalogs alien DNA in your world. So I really could transform into a Titan. A Titan form, yes, Hang corrected. But likely with Omnitrix characteristics, more controlled, possibly with different abilities than standard Titans. Aaron, sitting nearby as Hank's assistants checked his vitals, looked troubled. Is it safe? The Titan power isn't exactly natural. The Omnitrix has safeguards, Ben assured him. It wouldn't add a transformation that would harm the user. At least, not intentionally. Not intentionally. Mikasa repeated sharply. There have been glitches before, Ben admitted. But they're rare, and I'm much more experienced with the Omnitrix now. Armin, who had been quietly analyzing data, spoke up. There's something else to consider. If the Omnitrix adapted to Titan biology, it might help us understand the origin of Titans themselves. The room went quiet as everyone considered this implication. Explain, Erwin prompted. The Omnitrix recognizes genetic patterns, right? Armin looked to Ben for confirmation. Right. It contains DNA samples of different species, allowing the user to transform into them. So if it recognized Titan transformation energy as compatible, that suggests Titans have a genetic basis, despite their apparent ability to generate mass from nothing and defy normal biological laws. Hank's eyes widened with understanding. Which means Titans might have been created through genetic engineering of some kind. We've always suspected something like that, Erwin said cautiously, but lacked the scientific framework to confirm it. Ben looked down at the Omnitrix thoughtfully. If Titan powers were engineered, and the Omnitrix can interface with them, maybe they share common principles with Galvan technology. Galvan? Levi asked. The species that created the Omnitrix, Ben explained. Azimuth, the creator, is the smartest being in 5 galaxies. A contemplative silence fell as they all processed these revelations. We need more data, Heng decided. Ben, would you be willing to attempt the new transformation under controlled conditions? Ben hesitated. New transformations were always unpredictable, and a Titan-based one could be particularly dangerous. Not yet, he decided. Let's gather more information first. Maybe try another energy exchange with Aaron, monitor what happens more closely. Agreed, Erwin nodded. But not today. Both of you need rest after this morning's experiment. As the meeting disbanded, Ben found himself walking alongside Aaron through the corridors of headquarters. "How do you feel?" Ben asked. "Different," Aaron admitted. "Clearer, somehow. Like a fog has lifted that I didn't know was there. The Omnitrix energy must have affected your connection to the Titan." Aaron nodded. "It's always been resistant. Like trying to control a wild animal. But during the experiment, it felt like an extension of myself for the first time." "That's how transformations should feel," Ben said. "Different bodies, different abilities, but still you at the core." They walked in silence for a moment before Aaron spoke again, his voice lower. "Do you think the Omnitrix could help us understand where Titan powers came from? The truth my father wanted me to find?" "Maybe," Ben said carefully. "The Omnitrix is designed to preserve and catalog DNA, to understand the connections between different species. If Titans were engineered, it might recognize patterns or technologies involved." "Then we need to continue the experiments," Aaron said with determination. "Not just for fighting Vex or the Titans, but for answers." Before Ben could respond, a soldier ran up to them, breathing hard. "Aaron Yeager, Ben Tennyson, Commander Irwin requests your immediate presence in the command room. Urgent situation developing." They exchanged alarmed looks before hurrying after the messenger. In the command room, they found Irwin, Levi, and several officers gathered around a map table. "What's happening?" Aaron asked. "Multiple reports of controlled Titan activity," Irwin explained grimly. "But not like before. These Titans are different." "Different how?" Ben asked. Hang looked up from a report she was reading. "Witness descriptions indicate Titan forms with mechanical components fully integrated into their bodies. Not just attached devices like before, but actual fusion of Titan flesh and machinery." "Vex," Ben growled. "He's adapting his technology." "There's more," Levi added. "They're constructing something at the edge of Shiganshina district. Something big." "Another portal?" Ben suggested. "Possibly," Irwin agreed. "But the construction pattern is different. More extensive. We need to investigate," Ben decided. "Agreed," Irwin nodded. "But carefully. These new hybrid Titans represent an unknown threat level. We're organizing a reconnaissance mission, departure at dusk. Small team, maximum mobility." "I'm going," Ben stated firmly. "As am I," Aaron added. Irwin studied them both before nodding. "You've both demonstrated exceptional capability against Vex's previous Titans. But approach with caution. Observation is the primary objective." As preparations began for the mission, Ben noticed the Omnitrix pulsing again, the faceplate occasionally flickering to show the new Titan transformation. It seemed almost eager to be used, which made Ben all the more cautious. New transformations often came with unexpected complications, and a Titan form could be particularly volatile. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that the Omnitrix had adapted to this world's biology for a reason. Perhaps it was trying to provide exactly what they needed to face Vex's evolving threat. Dusk found them riding out from wall rows in tight formation, Ben, Aaron, Mikasa, Armin, Levi, and 2 other Scout Regiment veterans. They traveled under cover of darkness, using forest paths to avoid open areas where Titans might spot them. "Remember," Levi instructed as they rode, "this is reconnaissance only. We observe, document, and return. No engagement unless absolutely necessary for survival." The journey to the edge of Shiganshina would take them through the night, with a planned arrival at dawn, when they could observe Vex operation in daylight from a concealed position. As they traveled, Ben noticed the Omnitrix growing warmer on his wrist, pulsing more frequently the closer they got to Titan territory. Something about the direction they were heading seemed to resonate with the device. "Your watch is glowing," Armin noted, riding beside him. "Yeah," Ben confirmed. "It's been doing that more often lately. Especially when we head toward Shiganshina." "The coordinate," Armin murmured thoughtfully. "You guys keep mentioning that," Ben said with frustration. But nobody will explain what it actually is. Armin glanced ahead to make sure the others weren't listening closely. The coordinate is believed to be the source of Titan control, a power that allows someone to command all Titans. We think it's somehow connected to the Rice family and Eren's father. Wait, Ben frowned. You're saying someone can control all Titans? Like, at once? In theory, Armin nodded. It's why Eren is so important, and why Vex might be interested in him specifically. Because Eren might have this coordinate power. It's complicated, Armin admitted. But yes, that's one possibility. Ben looked ahead to where Eren rode alongside Mikasa, unaware of their conversation. And you think the Omnitrix is detecting this power somehow? It's responding to something, Armin pointed out. And getting stronger as we approach Shiganshina. Before they could discuss further, Levi raised his hand, signaling a halt. The group stopped in a dense copse of trees, dismounting quietly. We'll rest here for 2 hours, Levi decided. The horses need it, and we need to approach the final stretch carefully. They set up a small, concealed camp, taking turns on watch while others caught brief sleep. Ben found himself unable to rest, the Omnitrix's pulsing keeping him alert. During his watch shift with Eren, he decided to broach the subject directly. Armin mentioned something called the coordinate, Ben said quietly. Said it might be related to you somehow. Eren's expression tightened. Did he explain what it is? Vaguely. Something about controlling all Titans at once. Eren was silent for a long moment. My father had secrets, he finally said. About the Titans, about the walls, about our history. Before Wall Maria fell, he gave me a key to our basement in Shiganshina, told me the answers were there. And you never made it back to find out. Eren shook his head. Shiganshina has been Titan territory for 5 years. Every expedition to reach it has failed. Until now, maybe, Ben suggested. We're getting pretty close. To the edge, Eren clarified. The basement is in the inner district. We'd need to fight through dozens of Titans to reach it. Ben looked down at the pulsing Omnitrix. What if we had a way to control those Titans? Or at least get past them? Eren's eyes widened slightly. You think the Omnitrix could do that? I don't know, Ben admitted. But it's definitely reacting to something in this direction. And if it's absorbed Titan transformation energy, maybe it can interface with whatever controls Titans too. Before Eren could respond, Levi appeared silently beside them. Time to move out. We're approaching the final stretch. They remounted and continued their journey, the forests gradually thinning as they neared the outer districts of former human territory. By the time dawn's first light appeared on the horizon, they had reached a ridge overlooking a valley adjacent to Shiganshina district. What they saw below made them all pause in shock. A massive construction project sprawled across the valley floor, a complex of interconnected structures unlike anything the Scout Regiment had seen before. Dozens of enhanced Titans worked methodically, their bodies fused with mechanical components that moved in perfect synchronization. At the center stood a towering device, not a simple portal like before, but an elaborate machine with multiple rings and extending arms that reached skyward. What is that? Mikasa whispered. Dimensional amplifier, Ben said grimly. Much bigger than the portal he tried to build before. This could open multiple breaches simultaneously, or create a permanent gateway between dimensions. Among the working Titans, a familiar figure moved, Commander Vex, his skull-like face unmistakable even from this distance. He appeared to be directing the construction, occasionally consulting a holographic display projected from a device on his wrist. He survived, Levi noted. And upgraded his operation. We need a closer look, Erwin decided. Arlert, your assessment of the terrain. Armin studied the valley carefully through a telescope. There's a forested approach to the south that could provide cover. If we move carefully, we might get within observation distance without being detected. Proceed, Erwin ordered. Maintain absolute stealth. They secured the horses in a concealed location and continued on foot, using ODM gear to move silently through the trees. Ben transformed into Big Chill, his invisible, intangible form perfect for reconnaissance. As they drew closer to Vex's operation, the Omnitrix's pulsing became so intense that Ben could feel it even in alien form, the symbol on Big Chill's chest flashing rhythmically. Whatever the device was detecting, they were getting very close to it. From a concealed position at the edge of the forest, they observed the construction site. Up close, the enhanced titans were even more disturbing, their flesh seamlessly merged with mechanical components, eyes glowing with an unnatural blue light. They moved with precision no normal titan could manage, their actions coordinated and purposeful. "Those aren't just controlled titans," Big Chill whispered. "They're cyborgs, organic and mechanical fusion." "How is that possible?" Armin wondered. Titan flesh should reject foreign objects. Unless Vex found a way to synchronize his technology with Titan regeneration, Hang suggested. Making the Titans incorporate the mechanical parts as they regenerate. Big Chill's eyes narrowed as he spotted something at the center of the construction site. "There's someone else down there. Not a Titan, not one of Vex's usual minions." Indeed, a human figure stood near Vex, a tall man with glasses, dressed in what appeared to be medical attire. He was examining one of the enhanced titans with scientific interest. "Who is that?" Mikasa wondered. Aaron's breath caught audibly. "It can't be." "What?" Big Chill turned to him. "You recognize him?" "I'm not sure," Aaron said, his voice strained. "He looks like, but it's impossible." Armin raised the telescope for a better look, then lowered it slowly, his face pale. "It's Dr. Yeager. Aaron's father." "My father is dead," Aaron stated flatly, though uncertainty crept into his voice. "Shapeshifter?" Big Chill suggested. "Or maybe Vex found him in another dimension." Before they could discuss further, the Omnitrix symbol on Big Chill's chest began flashing red, not the usual timeout warning, but a different pattern. Big Chill felt a surge of energy unlike any transformation he'd experienced before. "Something's wrong with the Omnitrix," he managed to say before being engulfed in a flash of green light. But instead of reverting to human form, Big Chill transformed directly into something else, the new Titan form the Omnitrix had acquired during the experiment with Aaron. Ben felt his body expanding rapidly, growing to 15 meters tall in seconds. His skin hardened into an armored carapace reminiscent of Diamond Head's crystal form, but with the proportions and basic structure of a Titan. Green energy patterns similar to the Omnitrix's circuit spread across his body, pulsing with power. "Ben!" Armin called in alarm as the massive transformation completed. Ben looked down at his new form in shock. Despite not activating it deliberately, he maintained full consciousness and control. He could feel tremendous strength flowing through this new body, along with abilities he hadn't yet explored. "I'm okay," he said, surprised to find he could speak in this form, something normal Titans couldn't do. His voice was deeper, resonant, but clearly his own. "I didn't activate this. The Omnitrix did it automatically." "Why now?" Levi demanded, ODM gear ready in case Ben lost control. Before Ben could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. Below in the valley, all activity had stopped. Vex, the Titan cyborgs, and the man who resembled Aaron's father were all staring in their direction. "They've spotted us," Mikasa stated unnecessarily. Vex raised a device to his mouth. His amplified voice echoed across the valley, "Interesting development, Tennyson. Your Omnitrix has already adapted to this world's unique biology. Saves me the trouble of extracting it from you. We need to retreat," Erwin decided immediately. "We've lost the element of surprise." But retreat wasn't an option anymore. The enhanced Titans were already moving toward their position with frightening speed, climbing the ridge with mechanical precision. "I'll hold them off," Ben said, stepping forward in his new Titan form. "Get back to the horses." "I'm staying," Eren declared, raising his hand to his mouth. Wait. Ben stopped him. Let me test this form first. Save your transformation as backup. Eren hesitated, then nodded. The others prepared to retreat while Ben moved to intercept the approaching Titan cyborgs. The first one reached the ridge, metal components gleaming in the morning sun. It lunged at Ben with surprising speed, but his new Titan form reacted instinctively. Ben's arm transformed into a crystalline blade, Diamond Head's power manifesting through Titan biology, and he slashed through the cyborg's mechanical components. The Titan cyborg staggered but didn't fall. Its damaged parts began repairing themselves, metal and flesh knitting together before Ben's eyes. They can regenerate the mechanical parts too. Ben called back. This could be a problem. Two more enhanced Titans crested the ridge, flanking Ben. He struck at one with a crystallized fist, shattering its mechanical jaw, while kicking the other backward down the slope. But for each one he engaged, more appeared. There are too many. Mikasa shouted. Eren, transform now. Eren bit his hand, transforming in a flash of green lightning. His Titan form emerged with a roar, joining Ben in the battle against the cyborgs. Together, they created a defensive line, allowing the others to begin their retreat. Ben discovered his new form had more than just Diamond Head's crystal abilities. He could generate heat like Heat Blast, creating flames that melted the mechanical components of the cyborgs. The transformation seemed to be a hybrid, Titan biology infused with multiple alien powers from the Omnitrix. Fall back to the extraction point. Erwin ordered as he and the others used ODM gear to retreat through the trees. Eren, Ben, disengage when possible and follow. Ben nodded, then turned to Eren's Titan form. Let's create an avalanche, buy some time. Eren seemed to understand. Together, they began smashing the ridge, causing massive sections to collapse onto the climbing Titan cyborgs. Rocks and dirt cascaded down, temporarily burying several of the enhanced Titans. Now! Ben called, and they turned to follow the retreating scout regiment. But as they started to disengage, a familiar voice called from below. Eren! Wait! The man who resembled Dr. Jaeger stood at the base of the ridge, looking up at them with an expression of mingled sadness and determination. You need to know the truth, he called. About the coordinate, about your power. Eren's Titan froze, clearly conflicted. Ben grabbed his arm, trying to pull him away. It could be a trap, he warned. Vex could be using him to get to you. Before Eren could decide, Vex appeared beside the doctor, a sinister device in his hands. He aimed it at them and fired. A pulse of energy shot upward, striking Eren's Titan form directly in the chest. Eren roared in pain, his Titan body convulsing as green energy coursed through it. To Ben's horror, metal components began emerging from Eren's flesh. Vex was forcing a cyborg conversion on him. No! Ben shouted, grabbing Eren and pulling him back from the ridge. The doctor looked horrified. Vex! That wasn't our agreement. Plans change, Doctor, Vex replied coldly. The coordinate will be more useful in a controlled vessel. Ben had to act fast. Using his Titan form's strength, he lifted Eren's struggling body and began carrying him away from the ridge, following the path the others had taken. Behind them, more enhanced Titans pursued, but the avalanche had bought them precious time. Hang on, Eren, Ben urged, feeling Eren's Titan form growing heavier as the metal integration spread. Fight it. They reached the extraction point, where the others waited anxiously with the horses. When they saw Eren's condition, Mikasa immediately fired her ODM gear, landing on Ben's shoulder. What happened to him? She demanded. Vex shot him with something, Ben explained. It's forcing a cyborg conversion like the other enhanced Titans. We need to remove him from the Titan form before it completes. How? Armin called from below. Ben thought quickly, remembering how his electrical alien form had disrupted Vex's technology before. Maybe I can absorb the energy, like feedback did with the other devices. Try it. Erwin ordered. Ben carefully set Aaron's Titan down and focused. To his surprise, his Titan form responded, hands transforming to reveal conductive plugs similar to feedbacks. He placed them against the spreading metal on Aaron's chest and began absorbing the energy. Aaron's Titan thrashed in pain, but the metal integration slowed, then stopped advancing. Steam rose from the affected areas as Aaron's natural Titan regeneration fought against the foreign components. It's working! Hang exclaimed. Ben continued drawing out the energy until the metal began to recede. When it had shrunk to a manageable size, he nodded to Mikasa. Cut him out, now. Mikasa didn't hesitate. With precise blade work, she sliced into the nape of Aaron's Titan, extracting his human body. Aaron emerged unconscious but alive, a small metal device embedded in his chest where Vex's energy pulse had struck. We need to remove that, Ben said, carefully reverting to human form as the Omnitrix finally timed out. The transformation back was jarring. After the immense strength and size of the Titan form, his human body felt small and vulnerable. But there was no time to adjust. The pursuing enhanced Titans would reach them soon. Hang, can you extract the device? Erwin asked. Hang examined the metal object protruding from Aaron's chest. It's integrating with his tissue. Removing it here could be fatal. Then we take him back to Wall Rose immediately, Erwin decided. Full retreat. They secured Aaron to a horse with Mikasa, while the others mounted quickly. Ben, exhausted from the Titan transformation, rode with Armin. As they galloped away from Shiganshina, Ben looked back one last time. In the distance, Vex stood watching them escape, the doctor beside him. Even from this distance, Ben could see the doctor's conflicted expression, not the look of an ally to Vex, but someone caught in a situation beyond his control. We'll be back, Ben promised quietly. For answers, and to stop whatever Vex is planning. The journey back to Wall Rose was tense and urgent. Aaron's condition deteriorated as the metal device continued its slow integration with his body. By the time they reached the wall, he was feverish and delirious, occasionally muttering about his father and something called the key. In the medical facility, Hang worked frantically to understand the device while doctors tried to stabilize Aaron. Ben, still recovering from his unexpected Titan transformation, watched helplessly from the sidelines. The device is similar to Vex control technology, Hang explained to Erwin and Levi, but more sophisticated. It's not just controlling Titan abilities, it's attempting to rewrite them. To what end? Erwin asked. Based on what we observed, Ben interjected, I think Vex is trying to create Titans that can travel between dimensions. The device in the valley looked like an amplifier designed to boost dimensional signals. An army of dimension-hopping Titans, Levi stated flatly. Under his control. Exactly, Ben nodded. And he wants Aaron specifically because of his connection to this coordinate power. If Vex could control that, he could control all Titans, Armin finished. Across dimensions. The implications were staggering. Not just this world at risk, but potentially countless others, including Ben's home dimension. How do we remove the device from Aaron? Mikasa demanded, her focus entirely on the immediate problem. Hang looked troubled. Conventional removal is too risky. The integration is accelerating. What about the Omnitrix? Armin suggested. If it disrupted the energy before, maybe it could fully neutralize the device. All eyes turned to Ben, who looked down at the Omnitrix. It had recharged after the Titan transformation, but using it again so soon could be risky. I can try, he said. But not as the Titan form, that took too much energy. Maybe upgrade or feedback would work better for this. Whatever you're going to do it quickly, the doctor advised, checking Aaron's vitals. His condition is deteriorating rapidly. Ben approached Aaron's bedside, cycling through the Omnitrix for the right transformation. He selected Upgrade, the galvanic mechamorph with the ability to merge with and control technology. Stand back, he warned before slapping down the Omnitrix. Green light flashed as Ben transformed into the black and green technological alien. Upgrade's liquid metal body could interface with any technology, enhancing and controlling it. This might feel strange, Aaron, Upgrade warned the semi-conscious teen. He carefully extended part of his form over the metal device in Aaron's chest. Immediately, Upgrade felt resistance, Vex's technology fighting against his control. But the galvanic mechamorpha's abilities were designed precisely for this purpose. Upgrade pushed deeper, his consciousness interfacing with the device's programming. Inside, he found complex code designed to hijack Titan regeneration, forcing it to incorporate mechanical components into the biological structure. More disturbing, he found a secondary program aimed at Aaron's brain, a control mechanism to override his will. Vex wasn't just trying to make Aaron into a cyborg, Upgrade reported. He was trying to take control of him completely. With careful precision, Upgrade began rewriting the device's programming, reversing its effects and disconnecting it from Aaron's tissues. The metal components began to retract as Titan regeneration reasserted itself. "It's working," Hang observed, monitoring Aaron's vitals. "His body is stabilizing." Finally, the device detached completely. Upgrade absorbed it into his body, neutralizing it entirely before expelling it as an inert lump of metal. The transformation ended, leaving Ben exhausted but successful. "He'll need rest," the doctor advised, "but the immediate danger has passed." Mikasa took Aaron's hand, relief evident in her usually stoic expression. "Thank you," she said quietly to Ben. Erwin placed a hand on Ben's shoulder. "Well done. Get some rest yourself. We have planning to do." As the others left to discuss next steps, Ben remained by Aaron's bedside with Mikasa and Armin. The Omnitrix pulsed softly on his wrist, as if satisfied with its role in saving Aaron. "That Titan transformation," Armin said finally. "It was unlike anything we've seen before. You had full control, multiple abilities, even speech. It felt different from any alien transformation I've used before," Ben admitted. "More integrated. Like the Omnitrix wasn't just changing my body, but enhancing something already there." The Omnitrix detected something in Aaron's Titan power that resonated with it, Armin theorized. Something fundamental to both technologies. "Maybe," Ben agreed, looking down at the device. "But I'm more concerned about why it activated by itself. The Omnitrix usually only does that in response to immediate danger. Or when it detects something critical to its primary function," a weak voice added. They turned in surprise to find Aaron awake, his eyes tired but clear. "How are you feeling?" Mikasa asked immediately. "Like I got stepped on by a colossal Titan," Aaron grimaced. "But alive." "You saw my Titan form?" Ben asked. Aaron nodded slowly. "It was different. Powerful. And that man with Vex." "The one who looked like your father," Armin confirmed gently. "It was him," Aaron said with certainty. "I don't know how, but it was definitely my father. And he mentioned the coordinate. Vex must have found him somehow," Ben suggested. "Maybe from another timeline or dimension. Or maybe he never died," Armin said quietly. "There's so much we don't know about what happened 5 years ago." Aaron struggled to sit up, wincing with pain. "We need to go back. To Shiganshina, to my father, to the basement. The answers are there, about the Titans, about the coordinate, about everything." "Not yet," Mikasa said firmly, pushing him gently back down. "You need to recover first. And we need a plan," Ben added. "Vex operation is massive, heavily defended. We can't just charge in." Aaron looked frustrated but didn't argue. "What about your new Titan form? Could that help us?" Ben considered this. "Maybe. It was powerful, with multiple abilities. But I need to learn to control it properly first, understand its limitations." Like I had to learn to control my Titan form, Eren nodded. Exactly. And maybe we can help each other with that. Ben smiled slightly. Seems like we're both dealing with the same kind of power now. A knock at the door interrupted their conversation. Levi entered, his expression as impassive as ever. Commander Erwin wants to see you, Tennyson. Something about the Omnitrix. Ben exchanged glances with Eren before following Levi to Erwin's office. Inside, he found the commander with Hang, who was practically vibrating with excitement. Ben, she exclaimed. The device you extracted from Eren, it contained data. Coordinates, schematics, communications logs. Were you able to decode it? Ben asked. Some of it, Erwin confirmed. Enough to know that Vex is planning to activate his dimensional amplifier in 3 days. When he does, it will create a stable bridge between multiple dimensions, allowing his partner to bring through advanced technology and troops. We need to stop him, Ben stated the obvious. Yes, Erwin agreed. But we also need to understand what we're dealing with. The data contained references to the original coordinate and the source wall, terms that have significant meaning in our world's hidden history. The basement in Shiganshina, Ben guessed. Erwin nodded. It seems Vex has discovered connections between Titan science and dimensional travel that even we didn't know existed. Dr. Yeager's research may be the key to understanding those connections. So we need to reach the basement and stop Vex amplifier activation, Ben summarized. In 3 days. A two-pronged mission, Erwin confirmed. High risk, but necessary. I'm assembling our best soldiers for this operation. I want to test my Titan form before then, Ben said. Learn its capabilities, limitations. If it can help with the mission, I need to be ready. Agreed, Erwin nodded. Hang will supervise training sessions starting tomorrow. But Ben, he added with unusual gravity, there's something else you should know. What? The data also contained references to interdimensional travel mechanics. Specifically, emergency recall protocols. Ben's heart skipped a beat. You mean a way home? Back to my dimension? Potentially, Hang interjected. The device contained partial coordinates for your dimension. If we could access Vex main systems during the operation, I might be able to go home, Ben finished, the implications sinking in. But there's a complication, Erwin continued. Based on the data, using the amplifier for a targeted dimensional jump would likely destroy it in the process. You might have one chance to return home, but it would mean abandoning the mission before completion. The choice loomed before Ben with sudden clarity: help this world defeat Vex completely, or take his one chance to return home. He couldn't do both. I understand, Ben said quietly. 3 days to prepare for the mission. 3 days to decide. As he left Erwin's office, Ben found himself torn in a way he hadn't expected. When he'd first arrived in this world, his only goal had been to find a way home. Now, facing that possibility, he realized he'd formed connections here, with Eren, with Armin, with the Scout Regiment and their desperate fight. The Omnitrix pulsed softly on his wrist, as if acknowledging the decision he faced. Whatever he chose, Ben knew the next 3 days would change everything, for him, for this world, and possibly for many others. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.